It's a woman episode, fellas.
Yeah, yeah. Because listen, I'm going to put a coin down on my desk, and I will tip the bartender if you people talk about something more than horses and women. Okay, that's that came from Schopenhauer, by the way. But anyways, this is another episode of Digital Archipelago. I have a few business. Well, we were talking about. I was mentioning how me and the GF had a nice little picnic. But anyways, um, yeah, a lot of big content week this week for both of us. Wow, we both have articles and streams.
I have a video out later today. Like, it'll drop probably after the show. And then I'll be live later tonight on Charlemagne's channel at
Oh my god.
9 p.m. Eastern. And then I'm doing something with Semiagog tomorrow on Sunday evening. And then Monday, I'm on with Oren. So, yeah, it'll be a busy week.
Whoa.
Or a
Another
busy 4 or 5 days. Yeah, I guess how it works.
another special content operation week. But but Vingal, if you go to my Patreon Telegram, I actually did post. I didn't post a face pic of her, but I post pic of her. Anyways, I'm thinking of the.
Oh,
I
Lord.
probably won't do a public. No, I only.
You got a lo-fi Republican retweet there, Gio, on the
Where?
promotion of the show.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Oh,
Because
boy.
because the article we're covering has made the rounds recently, so that's pretty good, man. Lo-fi
We are
is a great
literally
account.
dedicating an entire episode to one article because it is that long and that good.
and that important. So yes, big content week. This week I published the great, amazing episode of Content Minded with Spurgler Acolyte, which was really great. We covered. I think it's one of the most comprehensive, apart from the ones that our good friend Martyr Maid did. I really think that it's really is a comprehensive Spangler episode. Thank you, Fishy Frenzy. The Geodoubters have even made it past the first midfield. The special content operation is unstoppable. Yes, and of course, I have a very important article I did critiquing Jordan Peterson's true reasons as to why he hates anonymity. And I use a lot of Jung and I use a lot of like Baudrillard and, mostly Byung-Chul Han, but I really try to formulate a sort of online ethics around what living in a semi-anonymous world, even though I am a face, I use my real face. I don't know if like does YouTube look down on people smoking? I don't know. I would turn my camera on.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk
I'm currently house sitting, so I'm actually not recording from my usual spot, so I don't have a camera with me actually.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, it's gonna be great. Next week, I think I'll probably drop the GSP episode of Content Minded. We talk a lot about the work of art and cinema, how cinema has replaced painting, and of course, the paywalled version will be the one that everyone wants to talk about with the current happenings of Russia. But because go and support the War Report. They're my good friends. They're kind of like the Digital Archipelago farm team in some ways. But anyways, I wanted to give a huge before we get into the Billionaire Psycho episode. By the way, I love that name Billionaire Psycho because it just reminds me of like imagine if a rich dude is like a frog. I've heard rumors that there are a lot of rich people actually
There are
who are frogs. Yeah.
Well, there is a large. It's not just for everyone that likes to think that this side of things is neats or guys that are struggling to make it. No, there are a ton of well-to-do old money and new money types that are just like, yeah, we're gonna post the Giga Chat on a Saturday morning. Like, who gives a shit? Like, this is their other life, their double life. They don't cheat on their wives anymore. They just post on Twitter racist memes.
Oh yes, and thank you, Volpe. Another thing too on my channel is that me and Volpes did a great space. Speaking of Byung-Chul Han, and it's funny because Billionaire Psycho is one of the few Byung-Chul Han respecters in the sector, right? And me and Volpes recorded a great one on The Scent of Time that is both on my YouTube channel, but it's more easily available on YouTube and Anchor / Spotify. So I wanted to give a huge shout out. This is the Barbie week, and next week we probably will, if I manage to see it this weekend with my best friend, do the Barbenheimer episode. But I wanted to give a huge shout out to our good friend Sun Optimist, who had this brilliant tweet saying that we need to ignore what the leftists think is their interpretation, or rather what they create, and we have to like make them believe that we don't know anything about their like little interpretations of media. So we have to like retcon the way that they retcon media, like the way that academics say that, you know, like for example, friendship in the ancient world between men is like has, you know, certain vibes that are not, you know. So we have to do the same to them. We have to like we have to go and retcon all of their media and say that they actually have a secret reactionary based world interpretation. And there's this one comment, I forget the account, but that quote tweeted Sun Optimist. Go and find Sun Optimist on Twitter, that said, you know, this is the case of aesthetics ultimately prevailing over the meaning of something. When people look at, the death of the director, but not only the death of the director, the zombification of the director. When people look
it's not death of director or death of the author. It's hijacking of the author for a greater aesthetic purpose to subvert the subverter. As it's a tradition as old in America as fucking Yankee Doodle. That's what I said last night, alongside using 11 Labs AI voice generator to have Ryan Gosling do the "You'll Never Be a Woman" copy pasta. But no, I mean, there's a cam. I'm halfway through Oppenheimer. Yes, there's a cam rip. Yes, I sail the high seas. Come at me. I don't want to give people my money. So there's that, and then there's like 3 movies that dropped today: Barbie, Oppenheimer, and the Venture Brothers movie, which I'm going to watch after the show. Because maybe we'll have TR Hudson on next week to review 3 movies. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like everyone wants, and I mean, all mainstream reviews so far that I've seen is that the most highlighting part of the film is Ryan Gosling's performance, which is kind of funny. He can't keep getting away with it. And here we are just sort of saying, screw you to a person that wants to, you know, talk about fragility or that, you know, patriarchy is bad, despite the fact that we don't live in a patriarchy anymore. We live in a feminized society. But hey, here we are, and we're going to have a good time making sure that the message of those people is not what they want it to be. We will take it and we will run the ball with it, saying that, you know, a Kendom is far better than this, you know, digital longhouse that we exist in that permeates all aspects of our culture. Fuck that. I think I'll dye my hair blonde or something.
There you go. And also, please sneed those super chats to support the content renaissance. Prude's recent article is great. I have to read all of it. I think my article is pretty decent because I feel like it was a different take on anonymity. But yeah, exactly. The whole thing, the aesthetics supervene the quote unquote meaning of the author. When people look at Ken and Barbie, they look at superior, you know, beautiful aesthetics. And I feel like that's, you know, as much as I've critiqued vulgar aesthetic posting, I think that there is something to it. But anyways, another thing I wanted to mention, because this relates to the Pygmalion article and it's a good transition. Did you see that our good friend Cold Healing had you know, he scours TikTok to, you know, give you the best content. By best, I mean the worst examples of humanity. But this one was this woman, this girl, 23 years old, that said, like, you know, she never was kissed, never had a first kiss, 23 years old. And it's funny because I noticed a lot of the discourse, not naming names, but they're sort of like, you know, it is funny to see like the reverse engineering of the incel discourse that, you know, men are not responsible for your emotional labor, which I get that, right? But as a woman, respect her myself. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, she is probably lying, Louis Cachet. I do feel, though, this type of loneliness is going to be more prevalent in the future. And the reason I mention this is because there was this great article by this guy, what's his name, Wilkes, that Billionaire Psycho mentioned in the Pygmalion piece from American Affairs Journal, that it's called the Zoomer Question, which we will cover. And it really, like, I feel like this response, as much as it's, you know, like warranted, because let's face it, incels are a biopolitical category that are basically subject to bare life, and you could despise on them and hate them as much as you want. But I do feel that the sort of like petty vengeance of, like, you know, the Chud Jack, like, you know, it's now the shoes on the other foot, ha ha ha. I think that, you know, for a while that's warranted, but at the same time, I feel like we should look past that, because both men and women are suffering. And this is the point of the Billionaire Psycho article, is that we are under immense parasitic control by elites that want nothing but our own suffering and ruination. And yes, Fishy Friends, that's a good point about the Incel 1. The Incel 1 is definitely a creature of resentment. The Incel 2 is a creature of romanticism and the sort of vitalistic pursuit of a higher ideal that I've and I know, listen, I know that the Incel 2 thing is a joke by Atrazine Groiper, but I do think that there is some merit to it. And I think this sort of like revenge fantasy is, it's understandable. But ultimately, I think that there should be a better future carved for both young men and women. And I think, the femcells and the incels, there has to be an amnesty. There should be a cultural amnesty when it comes to the gender wars. We should sort of find a way to, really, really sort of forgive each other from the sort of, the building up of the bricklage of history. It's sort of like, it's like the angel novus of Paul Klee that Benjamin writes about. It's like, we look to the past and this building up of horror, and we can only go forward. But maybe there could be sort of like a mass reconciliation, if you will, a sort of a messianic alleviation of the gender. Anyways, Prude, save me here. I'm just rambling right now, but you know what I mean. It's not productive, or I don't know.
Well, I think
no, I'm not saying that's something you did. No, I'm saying that. I'm not saying you should like man up and accept the roasties. I'm saying that there's got to be something different than this, like the conservatard, like who's that guy Gowdy, or that did the whole like men should man up thing. Was that Trey Gowdy?
Well, actually, no.
No,
that
not
was
Trey
Senator Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley, sorry, they're all.
He's mentioned in the Pygmalion article, which we'll get into today.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, he's in there, and like there is that sort of like youth preacher in a t-shirt and khakis, where a man that doesn't really work out shows his arms like that, and he's just talking about, oh, well, you need to man up and quit the pornography, and to do that. And like, don't get me wrong, like pornography is a huge aspect of reducing fertility. There are numerous longitudinal studies in both the developed and the developing world that indicates that. But that's a bypass to the larger issue that the relationship between the sexes is not okay. Mm-hmm. And that the game has fundamentally been rewritten, especially since COVID. It was already bad beforehand, and it only had gotten worse afterwards, because everything now has this layer of electronic distance. Like, because we're communicating via phone, right? The just talking phase or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is now, there's no emotional connection. You're less likely to form lasting bonds because it's easy to string people along via text messages or FaceTiming and then to never actually do anything in the real world. And it's a substantial problem because the digital, and this goes back to the article I wrote just yesterday called "The Present Age is Woke: Kierkegaard and the Gay Paperclip," that the public square, which is what Kierkegaard was really rambling on about, is that the public square can totally change and it's still called the public square. Like, we're not debating anymore about like busing or integration or leftist terrorism like the 1970s, but we're still having a public square where nowadays, it's man up, accept the roasty, or, actually don't bother with men. You're doing a greater deal for the climate if you don't have children.
Yeah.
And it politicizes people's minds. It ensures that their decisions are now solely political or out of sort of this hedonistic selfishness. Well, screw you, I can get mine elsewhere. And it only enables the worst aspects of pair bonding, hypergamy, or people just saying, fuck it, I give up. And it's a real disaster. And this article really does highlight it, because it's not, I think people read it at first and were like, oh, this is like an anti-woman article, when it really isn't.
No.
But it does highlight, I think, some of the core issues to our general dysfunction. Because it's not Henrik Ibsen's The Dollhouse anymore, where we start questioning the means or the metaphysics of a marriage or a relationship. It's more of, well, people nowadays are even questioning the means and metaphysics of what does it even mean to feel attracted to something.
Yeah.
And they find alternative ways and mediums and methods to do so. And it makes it even worse because we prioritize pair bonding in a way that is fundamentally unhealthy. We totally negate or exist in a world that negates male spaces. Like you mentioned earlier, there's so much of an effort to have this sort of progressive revisionism where male friendships are homosexual, there's this desire wherein men and women they look at things transactionally, even though that was never the case, 200, even 100 years ago. And yeah, it's an absolute disaster with how we treat that sort of bargaining and mate selection strategy today. But I mean, there's just a lot to get into, and this article is really well worth our time. So do you want to just dive in?
Yeah, sure. But before that, what I meant by amnesty, I meant among the incels and femcells. I think that even like the whole, like, the promiscuity thing, it's really tough out there, man. And I feel like you could still find a decent girl that has experience or whatever, or like, you're never gonna, I hate to say it, but like virgin women are kind of like rare nowadays. But I feel like maybe we're like in our own discursive bubble, so we tend to like do max, like, every single woman's riding the carousel 24/7. I don't know. I feel like it's a very strange moment that we're living in. But I think, like, there is like a lot of, even femcells now. And I mean, for different reasons, of course, but I feel like, I don't know what we can say. There's no like really realistic out for anything. You know what I mean? So that's, I don't know what to say, Prude. I mean, of course, the whole like the conservative meme of like, you're gonna man up. It's like, that's not the answer. But anyways, so maybe I'm just nuance broing everything. But let's go. Let's see. Hopefully it lets me go. Yeah, here we go. Okay, good.
Oh.
Finally. There you go.
I'm just thinking about what's in some of the images here. Hopefully we don't get in trouble.
Yeah, we'll have to skip through a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably true.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there may be things that you see here that may not be to your liking, but we're here for the literature and not the AI succubi that have been created.
And we might have to skip through a lot because this is a huge article. So this is the Trey Gowdy. Sorry. Oh, they're all interchangeable, Prude, these American politicians. I can't. Oh my God.
Yeah, so this was from TPUSA's December conference of last year. Young men, let me make a suggestion to you. Why don't you turn off your computer, log off the porn, and go ask a real woman on the date? How about that? Just a thought. Ask her out. Young men, why don't you be the ones who do the asking? How about that? Don't wait for her. You go ask. Show her a little respect. And then you take her out. You treat her right. How about that? Don't make her cater to your whims. Treat her right. Treat her right. Treat her like what she is, a woman, a person of an incredible significance in the image of God. And you know what? If you treat her right, then one day you do the honor and show her respect by asking her to marry you, and then you go get married, and you have your children. Senator Josh Hawley, Turning Point USA, December 18th, 2022. Also, this irks me because woman is made in the image of man. Man is made in the image of God. But hey,
well, that's, according to churchian Christianity in America, even Catholicism has a problem burying this nowadays, But anyways, what were you gonna say, Prue?
Yeah. Nope, that was it. I was just getting a little uppity there.
But I mean, out of context, like, yeah, of course, if it's a woman you love, you show her respect and all that stuff. I mean, whatever. I'm trying to prevent myself from GF posting too much, but but like in the greater social context of how he's blaming, this is what Billionaire Psycho is getting at, how he's sort of like how these like conservative establishment people lay everything at the feet of sensitive young men. It's sort of like disgusting given what's actually happening. So let's skip that. Josh Hawley receives a copy of The College Scam. Wow. So I guess never take over the.
So we're telling young white guys at Turning Point USA, don't get a degree and try and be successful in life either. Like, there's a hearty balance between people who will be plumbers and people who will work as an engineer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's right, Luis Cache. What does respect mean? But that's another issue. I think that respect is obviously given and earned, and nowadays, I mean, we can see this mass irreverence for a lot of these previous social functions because they just don't service us anymore. But anyways,
what's worse too is that what people constitute respect nowadays 5 or 10 years ago would have been called putting that up on a pedestal.
Yes.
And that's the quickest way to
Yeah.
have someone look down on you.
Yeah, exactly. So years ago I heard a joke about a politician. When a politician finds a parade, he rushes to the front of the crowd and pretends he was always leading it. Citizens put their plans, trust, and hope, place their trust, hopes, and dreams in elected officials. Mostly, this leads to disappointment. Revolutions happen every generation, but entrenched institutional players are usually the last people to adapt. Afterwards, politicians rewrite history and reframe their actions in service of what zeitgeist has replaced the previous status quo. It is a mistake to expect dynamic leadership from Machiavellian social climbers. And so this is a main theme in this article, is that the political and elite ruling class, they are essentially, they are the real midwits. They have no gravitas or leadership ability, and they're sort of like a parasitic class that has feasted upon the dying husk of civilization. So let's move on. In this particular speech, Josh Hawley adopted the mannerisms and aesthetic of a Protestant Christian youth pastor in order to connect with the audience as a man of the people. His customary suit, indigo jacket, cerulean button-down shirt, two-tone tie was abandoned in favor of the casual t-shirt. The senator pretends to be spontaneous as he stands out reciting a prepared speech. He preaching duty, honor, and masculinity. But if you look at his thin, scrawny arms, it's obvious Senator Hawley rarely lifts weights. Even a short 3-month regimen would be enough to improve his physique. So it's typical. There's a certain irony to this kind of performative masculinity where an effeminate legal scholar stands on stage and insults ordinary men as porn-addicted losers. It's typical of modern Christian churches. So again, this is like the yellow soy meme. Today, preachers frequently ignore the scriptures and claim that women are made in the image of God. And so, yeah, we've covered that. So Corinthians 11:7-9, a man ought not to cover his head, since he is the image of glory of God, but woman is the glory of man, for man did not come from woman, but woman from man. Neither was made a man created for women, but woman for man. These are tedious, legalistic considerations. God loves all his children. But yeah, again, that's a good point. But these details are noteworthy because purposeful distortions of basic truths are weaponized to advocate a fake, predetermined conclusion. Historical evidence is rearranging to confront industrial feminism. So he says industrial feminism as an aspect of the modern world and industrial society, sort of like the typical, and he quotes F. Roger Devlin, of course, how the Industrial Revolution was a breeding ground of feminism for a variety of reasons, because we were lifted off from our previous engendered forms of labor. But also, I mean, like, people go too far with that prude. People go into the whole, like, post-left, Maheccan wholesome working class material conditions.
Oh man, you're telling me. I'm currently writing a review. I have a review copy. Don't ask me how I got a hold of it, since he has me blocked on Twitter. But I'm currently reading through and taking my notes for Sohrab Armani's Tyranny Inc.
Oh my god.
And the
he
subtitle
blocked all of us recently,
except Sam Batch. But when the subtitle of your book is How Private Power Crushed American Liberty and What to Do About It, I know I'm gonna get some heckin' wholesome post-left Marxoid interpretation. I can't fucking wait.
Yeah, exactly. Happy wife. It's true though. It's true. I mean, that is a maxim. That is true. But I know what you mean. Anyways, moving on. So then, women are praised, men are scorned. These dynamics are increasingly detached from reality. In a world where Tinder has replaced traditional courtship, average women reject average men, and no-fault divorce, bankrupt families, workplace romances has been de facto outlawed by sexual harassment lawsuits, enforced by bitter and envious old women. So this is like the Longhouse, and he goes into these charts, cursive examination of statistics, data.
Well, that data is important. Scroll up just a little bit real quick. Okay. Yeah, like
whoa, that's like a collapse chart. Yeah,
the Met Online has skyrocketed since the 1990s. The next one, this is the Tinder stuff too, right after this graph. About how men versus women swipe. Who did that tweet saying that, like, this is Grindr came first? Who was the one that pointed that out? Was it Nemitz?
I think it was Default Friend or Nemitz.
Okay, one of those two. But I think it's kind of true that, like, we're trying to apply a homosexual mating style, or mate selection onto straight people, and it's clearly not working. That or it's just revealed like the most quintessential aspects of female nature, but here you are.
No, but here's the argument though. Is it female nature? Or is it that, I mean, of course, like Billionaire Psycho argues that. Or is it just that this dynamic accelerated the tendencies that were always there, but yet, you know?
I'm more inclined to believe the latter, because obviously this was not how things used to be, and we have historical documentation that this was not how things
was that because women were oppressed, Prude? Is that why they, you know, they don't...
Probably, and it was probably for the best. Like, I don't have a problem defending that. Like, that's not an... I don't think that that's an indefensible position. Like, everyone memes about that, you know...
Well, men were under incredible social obligation as well. People...
Well, they were. Like, there was this social... like all male selection pressures for like marriage, right? Whether it's from the ancient city that basically said if you were a virgin, if you were chastity, like you were to be like fined for it, or alongside the fact that that's mine.
Yeah.
But also alongside the fact that you've got the issue of you know, people wanted to have wives and kids were necessary to work on the land or whatever. Like there was intense economic pressure as well to do it. Whereas nowadays, when both sides are quote unquote liberated, right, the paradox of female happiness, the more and more rights women have gotten, the more and more in the West are they unhappy. I mean, white women are the highest users per capita of SSRIs. Yeah, I mean, I think that this new form of social techniques has only accelerated the worst impulses of men and women, and look at where we are.
Yeah, exactly. Chief Justice Supreme Court, Josh Hawley, clerk for the Supreme Justice, Chief Justice. That position required brilliance, ambition, precision, eloquence, a grueling work ethic, and an encyclopedic reading schedule. Women reject the vast majority of men and chase fruitlessly after a small handful of conceited womanizer jerks, such as myself. That's Billionaire Psycho. Feast or famine, there's no middle ground. Women enjoy rejecting men, especially handsome men. The power to select or spurn suitors based on arbitrary reasons. Mercurial moods is fun. It provides a validational ego boost. These truths are politically unpopular. So as a result, Hawley blames men, scapegoating men in porn. Prawn for the destruction of the family feels righteous and cathartic, but nearly 70% of divorces are initiated by women. So there you go. Prawn is, of course, a digital sedative, a dysfunctional form of escapism. But the question is never asked, what are prawn users escaping from? Viewers immerse themselves in a curated parasocial simulation of an obedient, enthusiastic harem, an impossible fantasy where women cost nothing, never complain, and disappear on command. Although there is some kind of prawns that do the opposite of this, but some men are, they have problems. The sporadic and unproductive, drugs mask pain, escapism numbs grief. Modernity's lotus eaters drown themselves in hedonistic dreams, wallowing in self-pity. But the larger problem is grim reality. Let's talk a little bit about this. Politics is downstream of culture. Culture is downstream of economics. Economics is downstream of technology. Prawn is a convenient scapegoat for the entrenched, intractable problems of modernity. The end of cheap energy bleeds into social dysfunctions and personal misfortunes. Marriage has become a luxury product. There's an economic gravity, an incremental heaviness inflicted by 5 consecutive decades of inflation, offshoring, credentialism, globalization, housing bubbles, urban crime, and mass immigration. Traditional lifestyles are still available if you can afford them. Every year, the price appreciates by a tiny margin. Now, he is correct, but he doesn't devolve in this piece into solely viewing it as economism. But some people have said culture is downstream of law. I'm not sure of that take. I don't think that take is true.
I think that's academic agents' take. Politics being downstream of culture is sort of the classic classic Andrew Breitbart take, which, I mean, the culture war matters for this reason, whether you think it's the other way around or not. But I mean, it is indicative that if you have power, you can determine what the culture is. So I think that, I don't know if they're necessarily downstream, but I do think that it's a two-way street. but one certainly has more impact on the other. And I think that it's politics, and by extension, the state, the law, the what we would call, the regime, or whatever term you want to use, academia, this sort of selection pressure for more or less rebelling against those social norms of culture that are meant to constrain our best impulses. But I mean, even if we take it this way, right? Like, politics is downstream from culture. If our culture is severely deracinated or liberated away from traditional norms, then yeah, culture is downstream from economics. I agree with that. Just a large extent, just because if you're broke, or if you can't make it and you're underemployed or not making a lot of money, then hard to be high class, high strata. But yeah, porn is a convenient scapegoat for the entrenched, because porn is present for everybody. I mean, it's not just like basement neats that are enjoying their quote unquote goon session. It's also really wealthy people that also have a problem. I mean,
well, there's women too. Apparently, women have a
I'm sure that they do. I don't know enough about it just because I'm not a woman, but yeah.
There are female gooners, apparently.
When did that word start being a thing? Because, you used to just say that you were, doing
there's a long history of
onanistic
that
activity. But okay. I'm not going to ask or get into it if there's a long history. I may not actually
there's whole
want to
follow
know.
the rules threads on. There's whole follow the rules streams on this question. But anyways, then Billionaire Psycho goes into Byung Chul Han's
marriage is a luxury product, though.
Yeah, that's really.
I guess it depends on who. I mean, if you're more culturally conservative, I mean, like, and again, these are minorities I'm talking about here, not like demographic minorities. I mean, just like a minority of the larger population. Like, those people, marriage isn't a luxury product if you're still culturally ingrained to believe that that's what you're supposed to do, which is not many people nowadays. But I mean, even the wealthy, when they get married, it never lasts long. Marriage is more like a flex in a lot of ways, which is strange because men know that divorce laws fuck them, but yet they still get married. Like, how many times how many rings does J-Lo have at this point? Right? Like, raises some questions.
She collects them like Pogs,
Yeah.
Pong. Remember that in the 90s? Only 90s kids. That was you remember those little like plastic.
Yeah, I do.
You collect them.
All over.
You're probably too young to remember. School. I'm a 30-year-old boomer, so.
Have you started riding your lawnmower at 6 a.m.?
I should, I should listen to Title Fight and Sunny Day Real Estate while I mow my lawn at 6 a.m. Anyways, the difference between the middle class costs today is the need to purchase insulation from the growing American dysfunction. There's simply fewer functional, socially, economically, and physically intact places to live today than the 1980s. And 1990s middle class lifestyle means 3-bedroom houses, 2 cars. Yeah, basically the Simpsons family home. In 2022, have dedicated 400K a year house. And of course, our good friend James Kirkpatrick. All of American life revolves around earning enough money to escape the consequences of the civil rights movement. It's one giant intelligence test of avoiding legal traps, escaping compromised institutions, and lying through your teeth about what you're actually doing. Wow, that's a humongous Moab black pill right there, but it's probably true.
And it's the most accurate thing ever. Is that if you're like, it's alongside the tweet that you can tell how like messed up an American city has been by looking at its suburbs and the highway development around them. They're like tree rings of each sort of progressive wave of the civil rights movement of people trying to escape.
Oh my God, that's true. The decline started in the 70s and really sped up in 2008. The only thing is that decline has been very enveloped in this point. You know what's funny is that you probably the acceleration of noticing the decline probably did accelerate under Obama. From 2008 to 2012 was probably going into the 2010s. You really started to notice it. So.
Well, I wonder if that's also just generational, because if you were to ask some paleocon that has been writing Pat Buchanan in since he first ran for president, he'd probably say that things have just they've been always getting worse. So I don't I don't know, you know?
Didn't they say that only like 4% or some ridiculous number like of millennials own their home outright or something?
We can find out what is total millennial home ownership.
Yeah, here you go, 4%. But at their age, boomers own 32% of the country's real estate, 8 times as much. That's probably a real number.
Wait. Well, the 4% number, where is that?
Amy Nixon.
What percentage of total real estate value? There's a difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
real
you're
estate
right.
value.
Real estate value.
Because a lot of millennials do own homes nowadays, from what I'm reading here. But their slice of the pie in terms of like what that's valued at is incredibly low. Okay, yeah.
By the way, you see this chart right here?
Yeah.
If you're a leaf like I am, you know all this stuff like hospital services, medical care, that just goes up with taxes. So it's like virtually the same number if you're a leaf, even though we have quote unquote universal health care. But it's funny because like I was talking to an American friend who had like a doctor's, like he had to see a specialist. And he's like, yeah, so they booked me for next week. I go, in Canada, you would be booked a few months from now, maybe more actually. So even though Americans are paying way more, Canadians pay way more in taxes, but our services are significantly crappier. So that's, I mean, if you can pay for good medical, as you know, Prude, if you can pay for good medical care in America, you can pay for it. But in Canada, like you don't have an option. In Canada, you can't, like, here's the thing. If you have a crappy like hospital or if you have a crappy like experience, you can't even switch hospitals. They don't let you,
Are you serious?
No, you can't switch hospitals. You can't. You have to do it. You know another thing too, which I don't understand.
They really want you to just like off yourself. Good Lord.
Yeah. My grandmother couldn't do it when she had medical problems. You know another thing too is the leftoids. You know how they're like obsessed with therapy. Like everyone should get. I remember one Sambat stream with you on your channel. He's like, the solution they have is like everyone gets therapy. Everyone gets their industrialized therapy. In Canada, it's virtually impossible to get a therapist, like an actual psychiatrist, unless like a doctor refers you. You basically have to be on the door of like total mental breakdown. You know, in America, you can pay for a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
You can in Canada.
Well, I mean, what's even worse is that most community health foundations in America, like these sort of like quasi NGO type deals for local areas, they have like trained public medical services that respond quickly, relatively well. I love his profile picture. I'm on a bird kick as of late. Inside of you there are 2 birds, Simeon Pervert and Peter Rex. But anyways, I mean, it's crazy to think about that they really want all avenues for you to be desperate, dependent, or ready to off yourself, and they'll give that service for free. Insane. Absolutely
they'll
insane.
give you like a psychology temp, like going in the last rungs of grad school thing, your family doctor. But no, to see a legit psychiatrist, you have to be referred, and you don't get to choose who you get either. Like people like literally psychiatrists shop because they don't vibe with whoever. In Canada, you don't have a choice. So you'd figure like leftoids would be like freaking out. They'd be like making a big deal about it. But of course, because in Canada, the leftoids...
Well, who does that disproportionately affect? It doesn't disproportionately affect urbanites.
Right.
I'd imagine that that's a rural medicine problem, that they have no problem saying, screw you.
No, but even urbanites, you can't psychiatry shop. You have to, whoever they give you. And it's really, they basically have to cover for the Canadian healthcare system the way that the leftoids do in England with the NHS. So anyways, widespread use of intense high-resolution cinematic porn is symptoms of our culture's actual dysfunction. I wonder if trying to be YouTube optical. Apparently people like YouTubers
you can say these words.
Yeah, I mean, live streams especially. Happy relations are often destroyed by our poisoned ecosystem. Natural impulses have been hijacked, funneled into various forms of self-destruction. Notice how Billionaire Psycho, again, doesn't just blame capitalism or whatever, atomization.
Well, even when he points out the high costs of things, right? Like that chart
Yeah.
earlier with all those red lines, that's commonly used by like the American Enterprise Institute. That may have actually come from the AEI, but I mean, it's always associated with like the higher regulatory burdens they're on a specific industry, the more expensive they get, which is true. But yeah, I mean, we're just getting a plain, flat out busted analysis of how not. I mean, how an analysis of how busted this is, because um brains are rewired, everything is more or less pornographic or caters to a specific troll gaze or a specific kind of pornographic male or female gaze. Like, it was very funny, we were talking about like the Barbie thing in some chats yesterday, and it was just like funny how this movie, which is meant to be about, is directed by a woman, Greta Gerwig, an actress, and it's, you know, nominally about the woman, but all aspects of the male character here is shot in the male gaze rather than a female one, which I think is rather interesting for why that's intentional. And I would presume quite clearly it's for subversive intent, right? Like you want to highlight the homoeroticism, but yeah, I mean, everything is rewired to make things as pornographic as possible.
Yeah, exactly. But that's funny though, how we can sort of like retcon Ken as being like a reactionary, you know, uber masculine figure. I don't know. He's trying to escape the longhouse or something. I've heard some pretty funny dialogues on Twitter. I haven't seen it yet, but anyways, emotions and experiences are designed, packed, and marketed and sold as consumable products. Again, so he's getting this from Byung Chul Han. Casual human interactions have been monetized and paywalled. There's a fundamental absence of meaning. Brotherhood is forbidden. When you speak with the veteran soldiers returning from Afghanistan and Iraq, he will speak wistfully of the fraternity of those days, which he cannot find anywhere as a civilian. Perhaps he volunteered as a firefighter, play sports, as a pale surrogate for the brotherhood he lost. There's this video that I saw that became very popular. It was lunchtime in Iraq. Have you seen this one, Prude?
I have not.
It's like filmed in 2004. This guy, before like YouTube and everything existed, he filmed these like vlogs of like what it's like to be a soldier, and he filmed like the absolutely like abysmal mess hall that they had. You know, all the food gets dehydrated. But it was funny though, because you could tell like these guys. It's like I remember one comment said it was, so you're telling me being a soldier in Iraq is sort of like high school all the time, but you're carrying automatic weapons with you 24/7. It's sort of like a weird dynamic. But yeah, that high school dynamic between men is sort of like it's there for a reason, you know. Freedom of association, this is another big point. An authority to reject outsiders has been outlawed by the Trojan horse of civil rights, which seized power 60 years ago. Now, you'd figure like and this is the argument I've noticed that people like, you know, that are friends, like Martin and, you know, these, you know, a lot of these Amarnites make. I remember Atrazine Graper even tweeted about this, that, you know, free association, if we had like true like, you know, in a way, true libertarianism has never been tried, in the sense that, you know, you'd figure being free and fair would be you get to choose who you associate with or who you frequent in terms of, you know, business relations and who you want to live in your neighborhood, if you make a collective decision. It's like, no, you can't have that because that's like not equality, right? That's not equity. That's racism. So it's like, you know, true libertarianism in that sense has never been tried.
Yeah, you haven't had that since the 1960s, and it's not coming back anytime soon in that respect. I mean, that's why there was so much optimism at the sort of the turn of the century about the internet, because that might be the real way to have at least online freedom of association. But even then, everything is so semi-permeable. There's no effective gatekeeping outside of a few organizations or groups or clubs or whatever that like exclusively paywall things. You got to have some skin in the game to do so. And you just don't have that now, because all it takes is one person to be like, yeah, he's okay. And then like the whole scene gets ruined. This also coincides with the fact that everything used to be far more decentralized, whereas most of the discourse has, found itself in like 5 or 10 websites, forums, and image boards and blogs. So like things have gotten increasingly more crunched and centralized. There's no real escape, because you want to go back where your friends are, even though your friends hate the same place that they go to every day. Like, hate Twitter, but I'd probably want to come back if my account ever got suspended.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it really is like it really is like the sort of dataism of like centralizing everything to maximize what is constitutive of the only thing that matters, which is this free flow of data and information that has no hierarchical arrangement to where we can predicate what is valuable and what is not. Even human relations are like this too. Everything must be homogenized into just like, the whole like idea. It sounds very nice, the morality of the left, but it sounds nice to a child of like, love and peace, love and understanding, and let's love each other. But a monumental cycle of just destroying systems of meaning and human relations that have been built up over centuries goes into that, but also destroying like an unprecedented amount of just like, of a trail of rivers of blood and piles of bodies have gone into this like quote unquote free and loving universal egalitarian ethic, right? I mean, we basically had to murder empires to do this, and people think it's right. And like, there's commies that do things like gloat over the death of the Romanovs, right? It's like their big like normie sadism thing. I saw this recently, and it's like, that's what I mean. Like you have to like basically have to cop for the destruction of whole civilizations and ways of life to say that this universalist, secular, humanist, egalitarianist, egalitarian morality is like this only way of life that's so free loving and peaceful that, why do you want to harsh everyone's vibes by having free association? That's barbaric and reactionary, right? So anyways, I'm just ranting right now. And yet this modern jungle of Tinder, hookup, birth control, and no-fault divorce is a particularly dehumanizing, desolate wasteland. Intimacy bleeds a slow, excruciating death. Heartbreak has become common. Love brings meaning to life. Life is about people and relationships. It's tragic how far our culture has decayed. The real horror which terrifies me is understanding how much worse Soviet America can be and will be. Nightmares are emerging. Our current suffering is not even close to the bottom of human condition. By the way, Amy just got suspended today. So.
Oh, did she?
But she always comes back. She has
she has a tendency to have it to come back rather quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think she tweeted a particular photo of Hunter Biden. So, anyways,
she was pulling a Sean Hannity.
yeah,
letting people know about new photos of Hunter Biden's. Anyways, I won't finish that.
Yeah, with certain friends of the road, to quote Ray from Trailer Park Boys. Hunter was certain friends of the road. But anyways, that was a great episode between Bubbles and Ray.
Go back up real quick though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, women are lonely, men are depressed, and the distance between them is widening.
I forgot that
the digital
part.
thing I was saying about earlier. There's always been acute tensions between men and women. There will always be adversarial friction because men and women dream, build, and love in different ways. You will never be loved by a woman the way that you want to be loved.
Exactly.
Men and women are just different. That's the eternal tragedy of that's true.
I don't know. My GF loves me the way I want to be loved. I don't know.
Oh, good.
No, but I know what you mean. It is true.
But also you're in love for the first time, and that's wonderful because love brings meaning to life. But also like the birth control bit, I just noticed that the FDA had begun the process to move an over-the-counter birth control pill out into the market, which is absolutely fucking terrifying. If birth control didn't have a monumentous effect while it was behind a prescription, having it over the counter will only make things worse. And so, yeah, I would imagine that things are probably going to get worse in that respect. But yeah, heartbreak is far more common. And he'll get into it a little bit, but like, men who try to escape this as well. And like, this is the point that I think Zero HP Lovecraft made in his sort of critique of Roosh. And I don't know, I mean, there's some validity to it, but like, he had popped off and he had said that like what Roosh did was retreat into religion. And I mean, to some extent, there's truth in the word retreat.
Yeah, there's truth in that. Yeah.
because a lot of people do, but at the same time, a lot of people also try to get right with their soul. What I find interesting though, and this is also some off personal experience, this is like once you like try and deprogram yourself from like, you know, hookup stuff, pornography, all that, like you're still scarred. You know, like you still know that that stuff exists. Your brain still knows how that works, even though you're trying to undo all the hardening of your neuroplasticity. And that also means that people are going to have struggles formulating what would be called quote unquote traditional relationships or marriages. And that's a struggle I see from a lot of people who are trying to like go back to religion, who are trying to quit pornography. Like you're still wired by it. Your brain is still trying to like reject it, even though that's what you were like habituated to. And I think that it's going to make all these things even more problematic as men and women try and decouple themselves, while all of society is pushing them to just stick with what makes them feel good rather than what makes nation work. Because that's been the ultimate like reorientation and inversion of values in like the last 100 years. Because like the sexual revolution stuff, and Radlib has a good stream on this, that stuff actually kicks off in the 1920s. It literally took the Great Depression or World War II to put like a generational halt to the sexual revolution. But it only intensifies after World War II. And then from there, we've seen the society, right? Like all those polls about you as a citizen of a country have like a duty to reproduce, and most people don't think that you do. And I said this in my article yesterday, that there are people that cite climate change as the reason why they don't have kids. They're a minority, like 12%, but that still constitutes millions of people who have decided that to save Mother Gaia, they must like kill their children or to not have children at all and to end their bloodlines. And so what is the point of having a relationship then if we're just going to be quirked up Chungus people who have no desire to have anything but, you know, we'll call ourselves pet parents? Like, what existence is that?
Well, it's a tough question because the idea, especially to, like I mentioned, like these, you know, viral tweets or whatever on Reddit or, you know, where they talk about like, there's sort of like what I call pop antinatalism, that like you shouldn't be obliged to have kids, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of these Zoomer women buy into it. But I think that it's a tough position because on the one hand, they believe that we live in such a crushingly like individualist like liberalism that we can't conceive of the notion that there is a greater obligation to anything, to a civilization, to an ethnos, to a religion. Like that's all gone. But also the people that do think that there should be that loyalty to the future, when you look at what civilization has become, especially here in North America, there's really nothing to be loyal to. I mean, there's a lot of things to be loyal to. There's still the remnants of things to be loyal to. I'm not being a total doomer, total black pill, but I do think
you're
the
right.
Current iteration of our civilization. That's what I mean.
Because I'm not loyal to like gay America. That's for certain. I wouldn't want any like right wing.
I'm not loyal to Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say I wouldn't want you or Kruptos or whatever up there in the Great White North to say like, yeah, I have a duty to like perpetuate the Canadian that is ruled. Like no one wants to like perpetuate the lifespan or the lifeblood of Trudeau's Canada.
Yeah, go to Radical Liberation's channel and look up Black Horse's stream with him about like his experience with the you know, in Canada. Like you'll see, you know, that was a riveting stream. It really shows. And I remember that controversy with the Christian college, the lawyers. They stripped their, it's like I remember that. I remember back when he was less of a piece of shit. Michael Corrin had that on his show, talked about it, the director of the university. But then of course, you know, Michael Corrin became a sellout backstabber. But anyways, moving on. So I totally get the reason why people have no incentive to be loyal to the current iteration of what quote unquote Western civilization is.
No, I mean that's how bad it's gotten. Is that there is no fundamental, like there's no teleological drive to like continue anything, because everything nowadays is and again it does like again there is a material aspect to it, absolutely, because you look around you and like more cheap labor being imported from the third world is like coming in. There's no good housing that you can afford with your current job unless you're like really fortunate and scrimp by and make it. Why would you? I mean, like I see more people nowadays anyways just cite costs as to why they don't have children than anything else. And I think on one hand I'm like, no, that's a totally understandable, like that stuff's expensive. But on the other hand, it's just like, is this because you don't want to give up some goods, your own? I hate because the treat discourse is back on Twitter. I saw
I saw the bananas.
Like your treats, you know, if you're a good boy you get treats or whatever, i.e., you know, decent services. And civilization's a treat now, according to some irony leftists.
What about the listen, harden your heart to pity, okay? Harden your heart to pity. You know, anyways, I'm not going to go shut out. But
suffer not for the urbanite to live.
Exactly, Glaucon, exactly. Why would godless
people want kids? No, that's true. That's true. Because, you know,
I think Richard Dawkins has a daughter, but that's, you know, exception.
Yeah, but Richard Dawkins, I mean, like, okay, great.
He's rich, so it's like
rich.
You know,
for him, children are a luxury item. If you're rich, children are a luxury. They're not like, I have this innate desire to propagate the human species. Like, I've never seen my wholesome science fedora tipping atheists of like the new atheist of 2004. None of those guys have like more than 2 children. They all have
Aaron
2
Ra have kids
or 1. I don't know. I don't think so. Let's find out.
Does TJ Kirk have kids?
No.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I'm so glad.
Aaron Ra have kids. He has 1 daughter.
Whoa!
No, a daughter and a son. Look at that.
He's doing pretty good, actually.
So,
I mean, nobody cares about him anymore, but yeah.
I mean, most pronatal atheist account, you know.
Aaron Ra.
2 children. Bravo. You're so close to that, 2.4 replacement rate or whatever.
I love how Aaron Ra just like is like perpetually stuck in 2008. Like
a lot of them
does
are
the same lecture. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen?
I made the mistake of going to look up Fake Sagan's channel, and it's like the same stuff. Only Trump like further broke his brain. So it's like,
well, it was again. It's like with TJ Kirk, you know, just like Trump broke his brain, and you just. And you decided to be even more of an openly just an open libertine, you know, like how does anyone respond to TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist, when he talks about the size of his genitals? Like, you don't. That man is certified insane. He will never have children. Like, Hawley Newton like had a great point about this where he quoted or he screen capped that response, and he's just like, this dude goes so hard. How the fuck do you respond to a man tweeting about the size of his cock? And it was just so perfect. But yeah, like new atheists aren't pronatalists. The godless people don't have kids. Like
PZ Myers, I think he even went the whole like you can't have children route. I think PZ Myers, he went the whole like, you know, you have to save Mother Earth, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but, like you gotta worship Mother Gaia in order to like the Mother Earth is more important. The eternal womb of the Earth is more important than having anything worthwhile come out of the womb of your wife. But I mean, good riddance.
Do you remember like when TJ Kirk would do those rants? Like I think Cody Weber would film them, and it was like people thought they were so profound and so like edgy Gen X, like you know that type of particular cadence. Yeah, it's like people thought the guy was like brilliant because he had an ability to rant or whatever. It was like very funny.
Man runs his mouth. People find it to be profound.
Yeah, but I mean, war with Pat Condell.
2008, like YouTube was a totally different ecosystem too. Like,
yeah, man, it was totally
what a time to be alive. Like there was the picture of who was it, like Nostalgia Critic or someone else meeting at the GameStop, and they're like, people don't understand how cool this was in 2009 or whatever. And it's just like, so
dorky, yeah.
Now it looks dorky, but like back then, that was like the emergence of fandoms and internet culture, and you know, nowadays it's like, no, don't ever meet me IRL. Like I don't want to do that or whatever. But yeah, what a different time. The human
but now YouTube's become even worse. I mean, there's all these video essays; they're just terrible. And
Oh, I know. Like I found I was getting upset. I was listening to, because again, I don't like a lot of like white video essayists, and this is kind of funny because I built my PC to actually be a video essayist, not this politics guy. But obviously I'm not in it for the money. But I was listening to one on Frasier, and like it's like an hour and a half long, and I was like 20 minutes into it, and I was like, so far so good. There's some neat like production behind the scenes history I didn't know, and then it started talking about like class and race, and I was like, never recommend this channel to me again. Fuck you. Like, I'm not interested. And that's the case for all of it now. I'm honest to God, I'm more happy about the fact I've been recognized publicly in a Buc-ee's than ever being a guy that writes about like material dialectics in regards to a sitcom of the 1990s.
But those guys are all midwits, though. They don't know anything.
Well, I know, but like those guys get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, they all strangely get hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Because I mean, well, actually, like this is I know we're going off tangent here.
There was that girl that Brittany Venti was critiquing recently. She gets like hundreds of thousands of views, and she's like an airhead. Like,
which one was it? Was it the
Dutch French woman?
Oh, the Ava Vlar or whatever.
Yeah. She's like so annoying. I don't know. It's
okay.
I like people criticize Brittany Venti, but I like when Brittany Venti goes off, she like really knows where to hit. She really knows how to attack.
I don't think I've ever seen any of her work, and I'm okay not.
Oh man,
if I'm being honest, but like,
the Ava Vlar girl or Brittany Venti?
Both. I mean, I've seen Ava's tweets, but I mean, I don't really care because it's just like this is a woman who's like kind of like pimping herself out for clicks and views with a nominally like alt-light message. Like, okay, it's 2016 again, but that stuff's pop.
The leftoid one.
Oh, that one. Okay, I was thinking about.
You're thinking of someone else.
Chick. I am. Well, they both have an Ava in their name or something.
Oh,
like
you
that.
mean the Dutch protest girl?
Yes.
No, totally different one. This is a YouTube video essayist that's like this Dutch French woman who like does these like leftoid, like everything is the reason I can't find a good husband is because of capitalism sort of deal. I mean, I know I'm simplifying it, but it's.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, but it's probably because she's just a frigid bitch, not because of capitalism.
The reason men are evil is because of capitalism.
No, honey, you probably got alpha widowed by some like 6'1".
What is this alpha widow thing? What's this alpha?
Well, it's like it's like when a guy's like he's just there to like fuck you, and he's not particularly interested, and maybe he like sells you up on the idea of marriage or whatever, and then he's like no longer interested. And like a lot of guys will do this with like lefty women, where they're like, yeah, this is great and all, but like bye or whatever. But
that
no,
is
like
bad, though. Come on,
it
man.
Is bad. It is bad.
I shouldn't encourage.
It is
you shouldn't
bad.
encourage that.
I don't. But also, like,
no, you don't. But I mean, in general,
don't fuck lefties is also my like core advice. I'm a hypocrite, but don't do it. Well, I don't do it anymore. But anyways, like, the
it's
reason
probably
it's
worth
so
too
popular,
much hassle for it to.
It really is. No amount of fun is worth that hassle. But
that was like that one tweet of like the chick that like it goes viral periodically. The woman with a tattoo of Dylan and Eric, and the tweet was like nuclear level head top. Like that's how crazy they are. Yeah. That was funny. But anyways, go ahead, Prue. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I had
Do not go out with a YouTube lefty video essayist. She will probably ruin your life, and she will do it for clout too.
She will ruin your life, and she will.
I have seen a lot of lefty women dox men that they've been with over a break.
She will treat you like Richard Spencer's ex-wife and do a long video breakdown about the profile of a sociopath, and it'll be thinly veiled attacks against you. But
the case of Mummy Nina Byzantina, I gotta say though, never mind.
I don't even. Who is that?
That's his ex-wife, Nina Byzantina.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Tina.
I mean,
sorry.
Spencer
yeah, but I mean,
let's not get into it. Let's
not get into it.
Edging too close like Icarus here.
That's true.
No, but I've seen lefty women. I've seen they've doxed their boyfriends over a breakup. I've seen this. There's actually a pretty good academic.
This is why you don't tell whoever you're dating who you are online. You know, that tweet about keeping your Android phone never to be seen after like 3 dates or whatever. Never let them know your Twitter handle. Never let them know what you do about your blog or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't even say you have a podcast. Just don't. It's probably worth your time to never mention.
Unless you found your significant.
Unless you found her that way.
Yeah.
But even then, be careful. Even then, be careful. But I remember in college in my apartment.
Be careful. She's probably listening to this right now. So.
Probably, but like I had a roommate who was just like the stereotypical definition of just like, I just want to game, like play video games and do whatever.
Take a women's studies class to pick up women.
Yeah, it was kind of like that stereotype, but like he would waste his time off work, like with a beer, and he would just watch those like top 10 Watch Mojo videos or whatever. And that was his idea of killing time. And I was just thinking to myself, that is scary. Like this is a human being. This person votes. This person has quote unquote opinions of things. And like this is the eternal tragedy of the human condition, is knowing that those people exist.
Look at that. No, but unless your GF is cool, like, unless you can slowly drop hints at what your political beliefs are without her freaking out, I mean, that's probably... But then again, yeah, you probably are playing with fire. Depends if you're an anon or not. I'm not an anon. I don't have this problem. But like, if you're an anon and you know that like a woman, like, I don't know. I mean, it's actually pretty shocking how far you could get with like an apolitical normie woman, you know, without them freaking out. But anyways, just don't show them your folders filled with memes of, you know. Anyways,
they don't need to see it's like, oh shit, she found the Giga Chad folder.
She's found the Giga Chad folder. Yeah. It's like, no, but anyways, yeah,
life is about people and relationships, and it's tragic how far our culture has decayed. A real horror. Yeah, this is the Soviet America part.
Yes.
And we do live in.
We have the article still. We're an hour in. We haven't. Might have to do a multiple parter on this.
We have transgender political officers now in the U.S. Army. Like we're so here. If you remove transgender ideology, what was the aim? Yeah, transgender ideology from public life, you actually do prevent the reproduction of other species because it occurs through mimetic contagion. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then Myth Pilot saying people today are under the misimpression that trans and LGBT are a phenomenon with independent existence recently discovered by science, as if they were new elements in the periodic table. Every discussion is framed in these terms. You must reject this premise. These are manufactured identities made in exactly the same way as consumer enthusiast communities. So true.
Yeah, I probably have to say that for YouTube. Let's skip that.
But that 2010s thing, you know, first observed in those 2010 something awful forums. Yeah. I don't know why, but like I find this interesting. This is the most telling thing. If you were ever to look up, there's a tweet about this, and it's called Trans Core Video Games.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's just like every major. It's just every major video game that's ever come out. And it's like, excuse me? Like, I don't think these things made you trans. It was probably the pornography around these that probably encouraged it. But I like, in what world? And like, they do this too. Like, there's that awful place on Reddit called Egg IRL where they like, you're trans, you just don't know it. I want you to come out. My egg is gonna hatch. And it's just like it's a community of these like groomers and social contagions of like, oh, you play as a woman in your video game, must be a troon. You know, like that's how it is. And it's like, no, I play Fallout New Vegas and I've got the like lady killer perk or whatever. This does not make me a person that wants to slice off my dick. Like, fuck right off. But that's the nature that we live under right now is that these identities that encourage like sexual ideation, which then of course is like the real contagion for like autogynephilia and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No. I mean, I was done with the point. We can keep reading.
Okay. Yeah. The pain is real. Exotic mental disorders will breed multiplicity. The technological demon of the internet are real. Internuts are real, but their arrival lags behind mass adaptation of social media. Yeah, social media is really like the omega point of a lot of this. Digital opium destroys focus by providing instant gratification. Willpower is eroded by an excess of easy pleasures. Cheap distractions saturate our surroundings. Psychological diseases are invisible, asymptomatic during the early stages of mass formation psychosis. Contamination is subtle. novel strains of mania and hysteria built in quiet isolation. These are industrial contagions. Look at the cartel violence in Mexico, the violent favelas of Brazil, to gain a hint of where this road can take us. Also, you notice like a lot of the racial politics of the left also have this like Hutu energy to it, right? That's another thing. Imagine a crime novel populated by dirty cops and gangbangers, infused with the macabre horror of Stephen King, illuminated by the cyberpunk delirium of Philip K. Dick or William Gibson, masked muscular squads of steroid-laced criminals leap from vans, kidnapping celebrities, live streaming beheadings on screen. Feral barbarism. The gulags of our future will be hideous. Wow. Mazes of despair, if they're allowed to happen. Yeah, that's already kind of happening.
I was like, it's kind of already happening, but like,
yeah.
You know, just well, what's worse is that the definition of celebrity has also changed too. Like,
yeah, true.
Take these human NPC characters and someone just like goes out of their way, kidnaps them or whatever, like, and it'll all be streamed. Like we were just talking about this in Pat Casey's chat the other day, where it was like these like IRL live streamers with like their speakers and stuff, and people will troll them and have like the N-word come out of their speakers, and it's just like, I'm genuinely surprised no one's been killed that way.
I'm surprised, yeah, like Ice Poseidon or Asian Andy or Baked Alaska hasn't. Well, actually, Baked Alaska copped a court case because of his IRL streaming. But like someone, like, do you remember those prank channels? I mean, most of those were staged though, but the ones that weren't, it was actually quite shocking that, you know, they could like go in the ghetto and, you know, step on people's Air Jordans. That was a big one.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So, sexual dysfunction deserves to be explored in serious ways. There was a tweet once where it's like, why do we let prisoners get jacked? Why can't we just feed them nothing but seed oils? There was that tweet once. But anyways, sexual dysfunction deserves to be explored in a serious way, intent are on solutions rather than scapegoats. The fissure between men and women runs deep throughout the heart of this dying civilization. Yeah, exactly. I said this in the top of the stream, like, the lack of scapegoats should be a priority. The psychosexual frustrations of ordinary women and the emasculated melancholy of ordinary men are together one of the main catalysts fueling our descent into poverty, misery, and barbarism. Operatic tragedy stirs. Romance is beautiful. Marriage is meaningful. They deserve to be recaptured, rediscovered, and reinvigorated. Dollar shave masculinity. Wow. And these are some good quotes. Sexist to civilization.
Masculinity.
Yeah, microplastic masculinity.
That's my favorite term, but yeah, dollar shave. Yeah, dollar shave masculinity. Manscaped masculinity. Ugh.
Bacon, bacon beard grease masculinity. Bacon
soap.
Grease. Yeah, bacon soap.
And then it's like moist critical in the advertisement, and it's just like, yep, this is exactly who it's for.
Yep, exactly. There was that one 4chan green text about moist critical, where he's like inane observations repeated over and over again in a funny voice. It's like, yeah. Anyways, sexist to civilization, what gasoline is to modernity. Gasoline should not be forsworn because it is a useful tool when controlled. When sex is channeled and harnessed properly, civilization reaches greater heights. Gasoline is not a subset that should be given liberty unless you are trying to destroy an enemy, in which case you coat them in napalm. Today, love is being positivized into... So this is a Byung-Chul Han quote, which I think we should spend some time on. Today, love is being positivized into a formula for enjoyment. Above all, love is supposed to be to generate pleasant feelings. It no longer represents plot, narration, or drama. Only inconsequential, and so he talks about this in The Scent of Time as well. Only inconsequential emotions and arousal. It is free from the negativity of injury, assault, or crashing. To fall in love would already be too negative. The performance principle that dominated all spheres of life today also encompassed love and sexuality. Thus, the heroine of the best-selling novel 50 Shades of Grey is surprised when her partner construes the relationship as a job offer. It is set hours, a job description, and rather harsh grievance procedure. The performance principle cannot accommodate the negativity of excess and transgression. Accordingly, the agreements and submissive pledge to observe include plenty of exercise, healthy meals, and ample rest. So you're basically formulating all those things that, like, couples in a sort of imperceptible way suggest to each other anyways to better their lives. It's like, now it's got to be an agreement, right? Like, that's the sort of performance culture that Byung-Chul Han is talking about. She is not allowed to eat anything other than fruit between meals. She must avoid immoderate consumptions of alcohol and may not smoke or use drugs. Even sexuality bows to the command of health. Every form of negativity is prohibited. Even the negativity of real or symbolic dirt is eliminated. The sadomasochistic practices the novel describes amount to nothing more than sexual diversions. They lack the negativity of overstepping. Thus, the partners determine in advance that they will not exceed hard limits. So-called safe words guarantee. You know what's funny? Let me go off for a second here. There's this argument of people that are in like these poly relationships. If you go to any soft white underbelly video and you look at anyone that features polyamory, they always talk about how it's more healthy than any other relationship because there's communication and there's like this agreement between each other. It's like, that's all crap. That's all like, it's robbing the essence of what a relationship is. First of all, it's a perversion to begin with, because it's like, particularity and exclusivity are the bedrocks of all erotic engagement that is meaningful. And to strip it away of that, to be like, we trust each other, we're in our polycule and we're safe together, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's crap. There's always going to be those petty jealousies and resentments. There's always going to, and so to compensate, they have to like efficiency max with like time limits and graphs, and they have to schedule their relationships. It's like, that's like the most like alien thing I could think of, really. Like, it's just basically negotiating. It's finding a way to like rational brain yourself around an inherently dysfunctional arrangement, right? And it's just like, like they talk about how it's more healthy. It's like, yeah, listen, yeah, communication's really important, but there's just certain things that like should only be discussed within the exclusivity of a relationship. That's just there's something very alien and cold and sterile about these quote unquote modern polyamorous relationships.
Well, yeah, they have to say that communication is healthy because the rest of them is the most unhealthy thing that you've ever looked at with your own two eyes. Like, why is it that it's polyamorous, bright-dyed-haired ham beasts with men that would never be able to secure a woman in any other context, that is willing to debase himself for the crumb of a little bit of a woman's touch or the crumb of what might lie between her legs in order for him to get something out of it? Because to him, this is as best as it gets. And for her, she knows that she gets to fulfill the narcissistic pleasure that she really gets out of it, knowing that there are all these people around in her orbit. It's more like a binary star system where there's just these two fat pieces of garbage floating in space that people orbit around, because for them, this is the concept. They can't enjoy the exclusivity either because of insecurity. They don't bow down to health, so they engage in the most unhealthy sexual practices known to man, outside of like homosexual attitudes, demonstrably unhealthy for any human being. So yeah, like the concept of exclusivity, the actual desire that comes from being with somebody who wants you for you, disappears, and you get those weird, disgusting weasels like the FTX chick, right, who lists everybody like a Chinese imperial harem.
You get Ayala.
Yeah, you get Ayala. Yeah, you get the best contributor that Reason magazine loves to tout, and that's like, you get peak libertarian libertinism. When you just throw out all these things here.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, communication's important. Like me and my Jeff, we talk about everything because we started off as friends. And we're both whatever. We have the same interests. Put it that way. But it's like, what I mean is like there's things that couples do within the sort of sanctity of their relationship that cannot be shared by definition. They're just like little gestures and little things that you pick up on. It's like that it seems so violating and so like uncomfortable to be like, this group thing or this open thing. And it's like, then you have to go into the nuances of like, there's this one TikTok that went viral of like this polycule woman, like mapping out who has relationships with whom in their group. And it's like, it's like, oh my God, like it's disgusting in a way. And it's like, sometimes, even though if you were to like be like a debate bro and be like, why do you think it's disgusting? If you were to go the whole like Destiny route and be like, why do you think it's disgusting? It's just normal human beings judging their relationship. You know what you should say? You should say, listen, some things are just inherently immoral because they violate the sort of norms of civilization and what humans have been built up towards for thousands upon thousands of years. Sometimes you have to trust your gut impulse to be like,
well,
that's,
it was like that guy.
What do you mean by gut impulse? You mean you're not giving me an argument? This data shows that I really do the good Destiny voice, man.
You know who Destiny reminds me of? Richard Hanania.
Yeah.
Those
what did Richard Hanania say about religious kooks that don't matter?
Oh my, they're low IQ. And this is because Richard Hanania agreed with somebody on Twitter that human life and having children is a good thing. And then someone just threw that shit in Richard Hanania's face and says, well, do you have a randomized control trial that says that having children and bringing them into the world is good? And he's like, blocks, you religious kook, low IQ. And it's just like, you got beat at your own game. Like, get that disgusting, incestuous Levantine face off my timeline. And we're done here.
Did you see that tweet? Like, I made an AI generation of every mugshot of
every sex offender, and it's Richard Hanania's face. Yeah, I don't want to know what's on Richard Hanania's hard drive check. I also like that thread.
Okay, we make fun of him, right? But
rumors forum.
Listen, just in case we don't incur a slander case, we're just making fun. We don't really believe this about Richard Hanania.
This is all parody. This is all for the intents and purposes of entertainment. This is not slanderous. I would not go on our paper of record to say these things.
Yes.
There is no proof of it. Do have but he is an annoying piece of shit.
Yeah, we do have a substantial critique of his worldview and what he puts out there. I mean, yes, we all make fun of him. Yes, it's it's just we don't mean it. It's just comic relief, but what we do hate Richard Hanania for is his ideas and his worldview. And we make fun of him, whatever. Okay, fine. That's all fine.
My animus for him is the same animus he has for white flyover country people like me. So
exactly.
If he wants to dish it, he can take it.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Just so we don't incur any libel case, we're just saying that we're making fun, we're joking, of course. I mean, I have a pretty brutal face myself, but I think that what Richard Hanania puts out in terms of like the ideas, they just don't jive with, I think, our understanding of what humanity is. And I think there's something very cold and alien and sterile to that sort of like hyper-rationalist worldview. That's what we should critique Hanania on. I mean, so please, the lawyers are not on retainer, hopefully. We're just joking. We don't really think that Richard Hanania needs a hard drive check. But anyways, say no more. So according to the agreements and submissive pledge to observe including plenty, thus the partners determine in advance that they will not exceed hard limits. So-called safeguards guarantee the activities do not go beyond certain boundaries. The overuse of the adjective delicious throughout the novel, of course, it just means that the Stephanie Meyer woman is a terrible writer, points to the dictate of positivity, which transforms everything into a formula for enjoyment and consumption. Even torture can be delicious in 50 Shades of Grey. This world of positivity emits only things that can be consumed. Pain itself is supposed to be enjoyable. Love is not simply being feminized. Rather, in the course, and this is where Byung-Chul Han, I think, is probably better than a lot of the Twitterati here. Love is not being feminized. Rather, in course of positivization of all spheres of life is being domesticated into a consumer formula devoid of risk and daring, without excess or madness. All negativity, all negative feeling is avoided. Passion and pain are given way to pleasant feelings, and inconsequential arousal. So again, arousal should come with it the moral, spiritual gravity of a relationship that you have with a loved one. In the age of the quickie, the casual encounter, and sex is stress relief, sexuality is losing all negativity too. But you see, here's the thing though. Byung-Chul Han is still a boomer, right? So sex is stress relief. We're not even that anymore. Onanism is a stress relief. It's funny. I had this critique of the Korn song Adidas back in the day. This is a few years ago. You know this Korn song Adidas, Prude?
Yeah.
All day I dream about sex. It's like in that it talks. Jonathan Davis writes about how meaningless hookups fill the void of being poor and growing up in Bakersfield, and having absentee parents as a latchkey kid. But I said nowadays, it's not even that, because now it's like it's individual pleasure. Onanism is the relief, not actual sexual encounters. But anyways, the desire of the other is to give way to the comfort of the same. The aim. So this is a common theme in Byung-Chul Han. The erasure of the other in the 21st century as opposed to the grand other of the 20th century. The aim is to procure the comfort and ultimately dull eminence of wholly identical. Modern love lacks all transcendence and transgression. Today, even like the love is love thing, even like love is like a sort of political gesture. Love is inherently political because it's a currency of sorts. Today, the defense of bare life is intensified into the absolutization and fetishization of health. The modern day slave prefers to it sovereignty and freedom. Where bare life is hollowed, theology gives way to therapy, or therapy becomes theological. And this goes with the the therapy industrial complex, of course. So wow, that's a lot to take in.
Well, I do think that quite a bit of it, right? Everything is given away as consumption is true. Like I remember this was a new atheist talking point a long time ago, is that because humans have the capacity to be into S&M, hell couldn't exist because there was no torture so great a man couldn't fetishize it.
That was a talking point?
Yeah, it was.
That's fairly like that. That's like at the God hath given them over to a reprobate mind level.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was originally played off as humor, but a lot of new atheists ran with it, which is even more sad. But today, I think that it's absolutely true. I mean, everything. I mean, it's not even just health nowadays in terms of like the bodily health, because we consume things that are awful for us. But at the same time,
yeah, exactly, Coney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Point of Slanesh.
Yeah, that's.
By the way, that's the real Joseph Kony. By the way, he survived 2012.
He sure did, and he's still.
Now he's in our group. Yeah, he's in our chat. So
yeah, and it's funny because like, what do we all do? We all perform these rituals, and it's funny because like I'm reading The Disappearance of Rituals right now, and that'll be out for review next weekend. But it's funny because in this instance, everything is about. It's a hedonistic calculation because it's not healthy for us to consume these things writ large. It's not healthy for us to just go on numerous dates and to do all these things, to drink and whatnot. The health thing for me, how I look at it, I think it's more about class. I think it's more about
probably
being perceived by others, not like class in the economic sense. I mean, class as in I look high status. I look high class. I can replicate Sex in the City. I can find Mr. Big any other weekend, right? Like that's sort of the deal that we're here. Eric's got a point. This reminds me of what Mary Harrington's call to rewild sex. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true because everything nowadays is overly ritualized in the absence of proper ritual of courtship, marriage, consummation, childbearing, and so instead we engage in consumptive attitudes of, well, am I following the right tools to pick up women? Am I consuming these hedonistic calculations like the rational male, for instance?
The manosphere even has this.
The manosphere has this, and they'll tell you straight up that that's what it is. That it is a praxology in order to be better at getting women.
Oh, I know what I was going to rant about. Speaking of this, okay.
Here we go.
Go. No, you finish your point.
Go.
Okay, did you read? Listen, okay, and I say this with respect. But did you see that long post on Twitter by Carl Avocad? by Sargon.
The one where he talked about Tate and
Andrew
Fuentes.
Tate and this. I'm not going to talk about the other figure because, frankly, politically, I want to stay out of it. But he talked about Andrew Tate, and there's this quote where he says about like how Andrew Tate is just using. Like, I have the exact screen cap. I wanted to rant on Telegram. By the way, go to my Telegram, telegram.com/Giant Productions. But here he says, on the one hand, Tate is assessing the debauchery of the modern era. This is Sargon. And leveraging it so that he can become as satisfied with materialism as it is possible to be. The watchworm of our era is promiscuity, and so he has used the materials at hand to his own advantage. He hasn't innovated, he just exploited that which already exists. Feminism lifted the burden of restraint off women and men, so he has just filled in the vacuum left behind. He represents the bellicose aspects of the lunar civilization, and of course he's butchering Evola. Lunar civilization, so he has no reason to challenge or reject it because he has served him so handsomely. He reinforces the system with his lifestyle and success. So let me ask you this, okay? Now that's Sargon's opinion. Now, Morgoth...
Are we asking the chat's opinion, or are you asking
Yeah, let me ask the chat's opinion. No. Morgoth had a great tweet about, like, why is this parasite, like, in terms of Andrew Tate. He meant Andrew Tate. Of course, him and Sargon are friends. He said, why is Andrew Tate, like, why is this guy so popular? And you're right. Why? I wonder. When you see that video where Andrew Tate, okay, I understand, like, not you people. I mean, I understand the critiques of women and all that. But, like, let's face it, okay? That video of Andrew Tate saying how he exploits vulnerable and lonely men for economic gain. Now, this is Sargon's thesis, okay? That he has no reason to critique the system. Well, actually, he talks about, the Matrix or whatever. But really, at the end of the day, Andrew Tate's a product of the system. So why is Andrew Tate not treated with the same critique as our enemies? Because our enemies benefit from the system on the left. But why is Tate getting an exception? Think about that for a moment. Think of that, right? Sargon says Andrew Tate has no reason to critique the system. He has benefited handsomely from it. He's just merely a trickster. He's embracing this like chthonic lunar civilization. He's using it to his advantage, right? But then why is he like said, oh, he's based? Because he calls out, the woman or whatever. He calls out the Foids, so he's based. Like, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people like Morgoth who have the sense to like see that, maybe this is bad. I'm sorry, but when I saw that video where Andrew Tate explains how he like exploits these lonely men, why are we saying that he's like this red pill? Oh, because he red pills young, the masses, right? Like, is that really worth it? Like go watch that video. It's floating around on Twitter where he explains how he does it, and he uses these cam girls to like exploit men.
Eric has the right question that you want to ask. A better question: why is the right bereft of figures the young men draw near to a facsimile of a man?
Exactly.
That's a great question. And because
there is, but just they're not living. That's the problem. There's like there's other. Hey, go ahead, Go ahead.
I
said the critique. Listen, I say this with respect. I still like Sargon. I'm just saying that that's a flawed assumption. To say that while he, is part of the modern condition, you can't blame him. I mean, then why are you elevating him as a figure of the political right? I mean, we should be better, no?
I don't know. I really don't know many who on the political right that think he's a role model. I really do think it was a mistake. True. I think it was a mistake, and I stood by this from what I said last week. Not on this podcast, but on These People Are Sick with our friends Slav and COH. That I said, I find it disappointing. Like, I get it. You're doing it for the views. You're doing it for the clicks. The guy has got a lot of news behind him. But is he the best example that you want to give young men? Because when I see him talking about exploitation or how easy it is to game the system, I see people looking at it and I hear a tone and I see a tone that has this Revan-kissed subtext to it.
Yes.
And it's just like, well, burning the world down, like, if you're going to burn the world down, better burn something that hasn't burned yet. Because if not, all that you're doing is trying to light a fire in ashes. And he also just recently, converted to Islam, which, good luck, I guess, right now. Like, that's taking it seriously. But
we need base third worldism. To
I know, right? Like, we're going back to that Islam is based bit. Like we've all things right, good and useful of being
like, I know you people
reiterated.
don't. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but like when you look at like how like the whole woman question thing and like put it this way, like there's a form of vulgar like woman hatred that I feel is like not conducive to people of a European origin, put it that way. So yeah, that's, but anyways, go ahead, Prude, what were you gonna say?
What I was going to say also was is just that you know, it's easy to be a grifter. It's easy to, you know, elevate yourself as the self-made man who can do X, Y, and Z and whatever. But like, no, fishy frenzy.
No, I just say women never got.
Some do, some do.
Yeah.
I don't think I can hate them as much as some of my peers, but I think that it also has a lot. And I think that Sargon's post was just like, yeah, he's a part of this modern condition. But I think that when your whole point is to elevate the worst aspects of the modern condition is what makes you such a terrible, shitty human being.
Yeah.
Here's how I can make the condition worse. And so I can say, screw you, I got mine. And if you engage in this line of behavior, you too can get yours. Like it's a multi-level marketing tool for like debauchery. And
yeah.
There's always been no, I mean, Nudge Union's got the best take here. There's always been Andrew Tate's. He's just the modern version of buy my book and become rich, multi-level marketing. I just said multi-level. Every young guy wants to know that they can beat the system, how they can beat the system. And yeah, you're not going to be able to go, the average like neat or sensitive young man or whatever term that you want to use is not going to like get up and go to Romania and start like allegedly like a cam girl business, right? Like it's just not going to happen.
No, but you know, the reason I bring this up is because like, even if you're adverse to like the woman respecting part, okay, I understand, right? There's a lot of problems with the modern woman, but like what Andrew Tate was allegedly doing, well, that's an entirely different matter. The point being is that you notice that in this cycle that he's perpetuated, he has destroyed the lives of men too by doing this. Like that's his target demographic of pay pigs. And also the men that he, you know, in his video, he said it himself. So, but let's say for legal purposes, allegedly getting, you know, cam girls to like basically rinse these men and take them to the cleaners and like get, you know, get them to buy plane tickets, but then they don't show up at the airport. And then, you know, he's like, oh, I know how women think. So therefore I get them to do the cycle of where constantly edging while milking them of their money, of their meat bucks. It's like, I don't know about that. I mean, thankfully, the anime racists, if anybody, has saw through this and said, you know, it's actually the sensitive young men that are being targeted by these shameless grifters. And that, you know, I mean, that's, I just, and it's funny because I believe Morgoth actually quote tweeted that article in tweet form by Sargon and said, like, why is this guy so popular? You know how funny, the reason I mentioned Morgoth is Morgoth also had another take that was incredibly sensible. He said, these people, they went to see Barbie expecting to see like Rambo. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you people, you know, oh my God, this Hollywood film made by Greta Gerwig isn't based. What do you, it's like,
everyone knew this.
Yeah, no, but it was funny. Like, see, you gotta have an old bloke like Morgoth to have some sense in this world. You know what I mean? Like, it's
everyone needs a Gen Xer to slap you in the back of the head and tell you, come the fuck on now.
I think of Morgoth, and I think that you know, the pub guy, the
yeah, he is the pub guy. He is the pub guy. That's just the case. That's just the God's honest truth.
I don't know why I think this, but based on voice alone, I have this picture of Morgoth. He has a goatee, but he has salt and pepper hair. Do you think he's got salt and pepper hair?
I
don't know why I think this.
I bet he probably does, but who knows?
He looks like a fisherman on the docks.
I mean, I genuinely think that profile picture he's got of him fishing is probably more accurate than we'll ever know.
But I think like he's a bit chubby, but like strong fat, you know?
Probably.
Not fat, but like he's probably got that, you know. He's got a very Anglo.
Again, I've never seen him, so and I don't think really anyone has. So Lord only
I don't know
knows.
why his voice just intuits salt pepper hair to me. I know it's really weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I've done my anti Andrew Tate rant. I'm just saying, like, we need better, like that highlight by who is it that said the real question should be, why is there no living role models?
That was
in the political right?
I think that was Eric.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a great question, right? Like, that is the point. And, like, to me, this is why you want to go with, what's the word I'm looking for? He is probably, like, we have those guys, but again, I don't think they're not grifters, right? Like, that's the thing. This is that they're not one.
A positive role model that needs to be in that position won't be in that position because they're not as shameless enough to be that level of grifter.
Yeah, it's not like to me, like, I think Radlib is a good example for
William Wheelwright. William Wheelwright.
Oh that's God. That's another bad trend that happened for like 2 weeks.
Did all those accounts get nuked?
I don't know, but I hope they did.
Oh, I wish I had my fan. No, I shouldn't. No, because then someone will like.
Don't.
Yeah, I don't want that.
No, you don't.
Fishy Frens is making an all of like giant Gio.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's probably good. The Prudentialist.
No,
yeah, of course they got nuked, Fishy Frenzy. Of course they got nuked.
And I want that. Yeah, if that were to ever, I've already said publicly that I would disavow, and I'm going to say it again here. The Tate Peterson connection must be explored further. Yeah, it's his daughter, but we won't get into that here.
Well, Peterson, he's going insane right now, so.
Yeah.
They had to take Peterson out and put Andrew Tate in because then. Yeah, it's not working out. Okay. Oh my God. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, before we totally destroy ourselves. So yes, this is Byung-Chul Han's point in The Agony of Heroes. So Senator Hawley is powerful compared to the average citizen, but powerless when compared against the permanent bureaucracy. His role is symbolic and ceremonial as a vestige performer of the dead republic, the frayed illusion of democracy, which protests the federal bureaucracy from external discontents and popular rebellion. So that's a key point, because in this world, there no longer is sort of a grand revolutionary sentiment, because people are concerned with all these little games, and the sort of real, genuine sentiments that burn within one's soul, those have been destroyed. Notice how when love gets destroyed, a sort of like grand politics of history coming back, that possibility also gets destroyed with it. So, Senator Hawley can talk about like how men are selfish or whatever, and men just don't want to like live out a boomer fantasy that was probably not real or was only real to them. Notice how like what actually must be done by sensitive young men, that possibility stripped from them, right? And so as much as I kind of disagree, I do think that the whole thing about like, having a family is like this right-wing equivalent of like wholesome chungusness of like, you gotta have a family, blah, blah, blah. And like, you gotta have like the Rizoma school, go out in the land sort of deal. Like there's people that can do that. And there's friends of ours, like, like William Mule, right? Like Michael Thomas of Sharon. But in terms of a grand political strategy, that also will trap you in certain elements of the sort of the system that can prevent you from actually looking at what's, determining what's going to happen in the coming years. And so everything has a danger to it in terms of a political strategy, in terms of like consenting to certain elements of the system over others. And so it's like, it's a very sticky question, because ideally we all want to have a family one day. We all want to have a wife that loves us. But, or if you're a woman, there is women in the chat, if you want a husband that loves you. But I think that these questions are very complicated when it comes to the conditions. And Billionaire Psycho he's writing about this. So if you want to add to that, we can move on, Prude, or if you want to add to that.
No, we can keep reading.
Okay, yeah. But notice how he's juxtaposing this sort of reality between men and women and the greater political system. That's a very important point. So, and here's where he also critiques Andrew Tate, or well, rather the attitude of people like Andrew Tate. My analysis interrogates the symbolism, the dynamics of misdirection, the implications of enduring cultural deceit. Politicians are supposed to be cynical, dishonest opportunists. I respect the hustle and hate the game, not the player. There's a lot to admire about Josh Hawley. He's tall, handsome, clever, accomplished, disciplined, hardworking, wealthy, well-connected. On a personal level, he's secured a comfortable sinecure during an era of widespread poverty and despair. Any man would be proud to father such beautiful kids and to successfully insulate his family from the inevitable tragedies of a crumbling empire. But what fascinates me about this man and the slick breed of lawyers that he represents, a coterie of arrogant, unimaginative losers who have dominated the Republican Party since the day of Reagan, is their remarkable stubbornness. On some level, I admire their blind, delusional commitment to ignoring reality. No matter how many icebergs the sinking ship collides against, the GOP controlled opposition continue along the same course, rushing full speed ahead. The conventional wisdom of the Republican Party is 28 years behind the times and show no signs of adjusting to 3 decades of consistent, predictable failure. In 1994, the neoconservative military strategist Edward Luttwak wrote an article entitled "Will Success Spoil America?" His analysis was published in the Washington... Yeah, well, go ahead, Prude.
I said, spoiler alert, it did.
Yeah, exactly. His analysis was published in the Washington Compost, the biggest newspaper read by the American political class. Even then, these current tragedies seem obvious. And Edward Luttwak, I do the bad voice, Edward Luttwak, punctured the entrenched dogmas of the Republican political class, observing. So maybe you should read this, Prude. You're more acquainted with this.
Republicans of the family values persuasion should have been the first to recognize that more disruptive change has been inflicted on working lives and entire industries. As it is, only a few paleoconservatives of Pat Buchanan's persuasion have recognized the far from mysterious economy-society connection. Hence, in the standard 2-part Republican political speech, Part 1 still celebrates the virtues of dynamic economic growth propelled by technological progress, deregulation, and free trade, while Part 2 mourns the decline of family and community values eroded precisely by the constant dislocations caused by our turbocharged economy. Will success spoil America? The Washington Post.
There you go.
He's not a fringe intellectual at all. One of the more famous neocons of the 1990s he's done a shitload of books that are really worth reading. At least his strategies of the Roman and Byzantine empires are really good history books.
Yeah, even though I disagree with his Russia takes, but that's, old habits die hard.
But yeah, I mean, this is something that this goes back to Sargon, 2015 saying fuck the GDP. This is the attitude that needs to be adopted by most people. And this goes back to the Kaczynski thing where conservatives will rant about values and then embrace the technological advances that so rapidly disrupt the social fabric of society. And so that's a huge issue.
Exactly.
That no one, that people are only just beginning to address. And the people that unfortunately are addressing it the most are sort of sweeping in Marxist apologetics and the worst kind of leftist takes that you can get when trying to address it, which I think only exacerbates the problem because those guys are just as much hyper capitalists as the GOP donor class.
Yeah, exactly. Conservatives spent decades cheering on mega corporations who put independent business. Our good friend Benjamin Braddock and transformed countless towns into the same set of national chain outposts in strip malls, while the walkable main streets become ghost towns. Now they're starting to see just some of the culture destruction. Problems caused by economic growth cannot be solved by mere economic growth. Everything has a price, including tradition. Globalization, short-term propriety brings long-term social decay. The idea of community of the future careers of young American men have been sacrificed for cheap labor. Mass immigration has flooded the domestic labor market with unskilled, warm bodies. The deliberate policy has ushered in the anxiety and volatility of the gig economy. The caste of precariat serfs trapped in an unrelenting treadmill of debt, rent, and consumption, stressful hyper-competition, poverty, and instability. To avoid downward mobility, teenage Americans flung themselves into a parallel, debt-fueled arms race, seeking college credentials, chasing after a dwindling supply of white-collar jobs. Now, I know that there are people that say that the take of the reason they bring immigration is for cheap labor. I know BAP has said this, that it's really more about the demographic instability because corporations could care less about cheap labor in a sense. I mean, they already have cheap labor, but it's more of these other reasons why immigration is so harped on by the regime. What do you make of that, Prude? It's probably both.
I mean, yeah, the current, it's a lot like, I'm going to use a terrible example of this, but like when your entire revenue model for making money is been oriented around one way, of
Yeah.
course you're going to focus on the thing that everyone sort of hampers on about, which is immigration.
Yeah.
It's like it goes back to that talk from the director of development from Bungie. This is a terrible comparison, but like,
Oh,
he was talking about how like Bungie used to do boxed products, and now they do live service games, and now their entire revenue model means that everything that they do from here on out is a live service product. They can't go back to the old way of doing things. And so for a lot of corporations in America, I think that benefit from immigration, Silicon Valley, agricultural sectors, they have been so dependent upon cheap labor and immigration that immigration becomes the only talking point about what it is. And
yeah.
so that if you can keep a workforce diversified, then you're going to make it harder for labor to organize or to collectively bargain against shitty, treatment of workers. Like I'm not like, Mr. Moneybags over here saying like, you should tip your landlord and that you should, tip your boss for allowing you to even have
Yeah.
the right to have a job. But I'm seriously concerned by the fact that Amazon knows with its Whole Food stores to keep their staff ethnically diverse to lower the likelihood of unionization or collective employee action. And so, like, yeah, there's a lot there that's going to focus on immigration, because if you keep people constantly looking over their shoulder, whether or not like you're going to get like sent off to the curb because the black guy is going to get hired over you, then hyper competition is stressful, poverty, instability, and then you just see downward mobility, where the worst aspects of downward mobility, drugs, alcohol, pornography, tattoos, etc. Now they're in this like arms race with others. And again, it goes back to like this really awkward ethnic aspect that here we are. Not
Yeah.
one mention of an anime girl so far. It's
We're
coming.
getting there. We're
It's
getting
coming.
there. We might have to do 2 streams on this, but
Yeah, probably. We're already 2
yeah.
hours in.
Yeah, I mean,
But keep reading. I will be right back. I gotta use the restroom.
all right. Yeah, no problem. By the way, speaking of tipping, you can tip your content creators. I've only seen 3 super chats so far. I mean, Prude did pretty good last week. So anyways, let's move on. To avoid downward mobility, teenage Americans flung themselves into a parallel depth-fueled arms race, seeking college credentials, chasing after a dwindling supply of white-collar jobs. Consequences accumulated. If we examine his basic argument, Senator Hawley contends that American men lack virtue. He shames the men among his audience and demands a renewal of classical masculine chivalry, generosity, honor, and courage. Yeah, but of course, I mean, college, as much as I don't agree, I think Scott Greer is correct that you can't cede all of the university institutions. I do think that when it comes down to it, it has disrupted the sort of like way of life you could have achieved because of this boomer expectation of our parents that everyone has to go to university. I mean, I am also, I mean, not a, I wouldn't say victim, but I went through the university system and I was left sort of cold shouldered after my master's, but who knows, But what he fiercely, stubbornly neglects is an examination of the origins and incentives of patriarchal virtue, why men even bothered to respect, cherish women. Once again, he willfully ignores the historical record, neglects thousands of years of Western tradition, and documents legal precedences. In a world of nominal equality where men and women are supposedly identical peers, and therefore financial competitors scrambling for the same narrow spectrum of profitable careers, why do men owe anything to anyone? Exactly. Now, that is sort of like the problem that I have as well, even though even though I'm a whole like the women respecter. I do think that the modern man is met with conditions that are not respectable and that shouldn't be tolerated. And that really, when you think about it, when you live in this condition, is there any reason why men should even be invested in this civilization? Now, I think it's a great tragedy that there should be a way that you shouldn't just resign yourself to manosphere blackpillism, that there actually should be an out. There should be a way to sort of restore order and to create the conditions by which you can respect the civilization that we live in. But I think that's a very long, multi-generational process. There is no quick fix. Even this whole fantasy about collapse cannot do this. The way that young men can be invested within the civilization is a very long and arduous road, and nobody has the quick correction. There is no such thing as quick correction.
Yeah, and anyone selling you a quick fix is clearly grifting. I love this from our good friend Mike here.
Wow, as soon as I shamed the chat into giving me super chats,
I know.
they really delivered it.
Males in chat, they pay when you ask like pigs. Look at that. Look at that, Gio. You're hounding your pay piggies.
I know, I shouldn't do that.
You evil man.
The universe.
Yeah, Aquarius, the wolf pack. I mean, the Manor Bund. Those are the things that definitely talk about.
NWO wolf pack.
So yeah, absolutely, those things definitely come to my mind. Like, this is going to require people to build things, and it's long term. And whether it's like the Catholic land movement, or what Exit is doing, or hopefully one day what the Old Glory Club is developing itself to work, all these things are meant to provide building things and mutual aid to one another so that there is some semblance of a tradition or a canon or a culture that survives. Because like, this is what I wrote about yesterday, was just the sole simple fact of the matter that what constitutes quote unquote Americanization nowadays is that the new population whose family wasn't here maybe 2 generations ago has to quickly get caught up on the new progressive historicism. And what that is movies about flaming hot Cheetos, Barbie, and Air Jordans. And that's where we are.
Yeah.
And it's definitely an issue that where we're at. Yeah, look at that. Look at you shameful people.
I successfully, even Fishy Frenzy. Oh my god. I was looking at my phone for a brief second, and there should be like we were talking about those fake accounts, the fan accounts that all got banned for the certain meme lingo, right?
Yeah.
There should be a fan account of Paul Fahrenheit, but he's Canadian, called Paul Celsius.
That would be a good one.
That would be a good. I know that's so corny and stupid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I inflicted that upon my audience who just gave out generously when I shamed them. But anyways, 40% women will be single and childless by 2030. Men and women rivals for shrieking pool of white coat. So yeah, let's skip it. Let's skip it. That's so. Let's see. I hope. Let's skip that. With Randy Savage. Yeah. I don't know if that's trademark. Can you show images of media? Which one?
You're not playing a video, so you're fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is the thing that Red Hawk gets big about over here is the number of women who will be single and childless by 2045. Yeah. It's actually it's supposed to be 50% is the last thing I read. So it's going to get real.
No, but
real
what
bad.
Demographic of women though?
But, presumably white, but I would imagine it's everyone.
You know who's a big contender? This is what Indian Bronson said. The biggest contender is Brahmin caste Indian women to also be childless girl bosses.
I'm not surprised. I mean, a lot of Indian women, when they come here, they kind of like you either stay inside the ethno tradition or you get turned into a liberal real quick.
And you have a dorky white boyfriend.
And who's also a shit lib.
Yeah, you like lib out. Yeah, because like that because they view it
instead
as
of lesing out in college.
It's living out. Shutting out.
Yeah.
The best clip was remember when like people all of a sudden discovered the Good Doctor. The best was when I forget what meme account posted it, but it was when he was ranting to his GF that he then married, then they have a kid together. Because my mother watches this stupid show. And he's like, "You're a terrible person." And he's like, and the clip just said he's chutting out. And it's like it's like, "You're a terrible, selfish person." Me and my old man started calling it the Spurt Doctor. So my mother would be watching it and we call it the Spurt. She got all angry because like it's all medical dramas are all libbed out, by the way. They're all totally libbed out. So anyways, nobody expects the theoretical equality between men and women or seriously consider their status as vicious rivals during recessions. Despite the lip service paid to these absurd fantasies, feminists would be shocked if men ever competed against them with real intensity. No deference, no ethics, no sympathy, no mercy. And we see this abstract theory expressed in rare glimpses of brutality when trans athletes demolish female competition.
Life imitates art.
This is a crazy photo right here. Look at that. Look how high he is compared to the rest of them. Look at how far he's jumping compared to them. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, this is perfect, and she knows.
Yeah, she knows.
Like this caused a huge issue. I think one of them quit.
Yeah.
You know, and they said we're done, and I don't blame them. Like, I get the whole women's sports thing, and that it's easy to just dunk on, you know, women in general. I get it. That's how the Twitter ecosystem works. But like, that's absolutely fucked. And there are no other words to describe it.
No, but I said at the beginning of the stream, like, this revenge fantasy isn't productive, even though like the whole like manosphere,
you want it though. Like, it's a natural desire to want the revenkism. Like, I get it. I want it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, the revenge fantasy, it's like all other stories when it comes to revenge fantasies. Was the revenge at the end of the day worth it?
Yeah. Was it that meaningful? Because you've really just further harmed her. Now, here's the thing. I don't think you should like mass forgive women for, you know.
No.
But I'm saying that, like, when it comes down to it, that's also an equally, like, it's out of desperation and hurt rather than finding lasting solutions as to how to rearrange society to be more conducive to the flourishing of both men and women, right? And I think like the trad approach, like the vulgar trad, like Josh Hawley approach, is also equally absurd and ridiculous.
Yeah,
as the MGTOW, like, gloating over women getting owned by trans athletes. Like, it's funny, yeah, it is funny. But
in one way, yeah, Essington's got a point. Like, there is sort of a political hoisted by our own petard thing.
Yeah, that's true.
That definitely exists.
And they're reaping what they've sowed, of course. They've reaped what they've sowed.
And it sucks to see that, because it's just like, if I'm 20 and this just happened, it's like, come on, what the hell? But yeah, it's usually the leopards eating my face party is surprised when leopard eats my face type deal.
Yeah.
But I can't stand here idly and tolerate transgenderism. They probably did do this to themselves, but there should be someone and there should be authority. Like, this is about the restoring order bit, right? It's just like, nope, none of this shit anymore. I don't care if you think this is good and that you're being a good ally, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Get the guy with some dangly bits out of the women's sports section. And while we're at it, maybe cut the women's sports section afterwards. You know?
No, but that's what I mean. Like, this is the problem with vulgar conservative, like, punditry talking points of, like, it's the same with, like, those, let's get the based Muslims to kick out the, teaching of LGBT plus blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
it's
like
the same
story,
energy.
It's the story.
Let's get
of, like,
base Caitlyn Jenner to own the TERFs, to own the feminists. Wow, that's a great political praxis right there.
Well, it's like the story of, like, oh, we got to get the snakes out of the island or whatever, so we'll bring in the mongoose. Well, what do we got to do to get rid of the mongoose? Oh, we'll bring in the owls.
The mouse, the king, and the cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is what the problem is the mouse, the king, and the cheese for this god awful situation.
I love that book when
we'll bring. We got the gay stuff. Well, we got to bring in the Muslims. Well, how do we get rid of the Muslims? Well,
we have our base gays. You have Blair White. We got Blair White. You know,
we'll have Blair White with the AR-15 take care of the Muslims that don't like the. Like, see, this is how stupid it sounds.
Yeah, to take care of the AGPs, we have base Blair White. Yeah, that's like, we need our based HSTS conservative voting, wholesome family values. This is so stupid. Don't you understand that this is just discourse brain? That this is a lack of first principles on the political right in North America. Don't you understand? Like, this is where it comes from. It's a stupid punditry because you have to get clicks. Okay. You know, another thing too, and I'm not just saying this because our friend works there. Okay. Did you know the Blaze recently called out Fox News for suspicious funding to suspicious causes? Did you see that article?
Yeah, employee fundraisers that were matched by the company to things like the Trevor Project and other
and the Satan Temple
groups.
In DC.
Yeah, and the Satanic Temple.
Yeah, oh, that's base Fox News right there. Base Fox News with their base trans pundit to own the AGPs, right? Like, yeah, very good. And you know what's funny is that I said this in the group chat. I said, this is a huge leap of credibility to the Blaze if they're willing to call the Fox News conservative punditry media machine, right? Like, that's incredible. I mean, if it's true, allegedly, if it's true, right? It is a whistleblower. Sometimes they're less than credible. But if it is true, then, like, there you go. Like, see, this is the problem when you try to negate the responsibility of your political beliefs by subletting out to a quote-unquote based, safe demographic, or to do it this like political workaround. You know how Republicans do it? They do it foreign policy. You know, why do you think neocons, like, why do you think they want to destroy Russia? Because it's like, oh, see, we're based, you know, our American empire is gonna last forever because we're based America, fuck yeah. Like, it's like, this is like literal, like, ship for brains thinking around very complex issues, right? So the American and Canadian conservative, they can't really influence or exercise their real true political will at home, so they just take it to the, you know, they take it outside to foreign policy, right? I mean, Kashiwagi had that great thread on it, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like, I can't criticize LGBT plus curriculum in schools, so I'm gonna get the base Muslims to do it, or the base HRTs, HST base HRT. No, like, I'm gonna get the based. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it, but even people that are pretty
just
good.
Just let it. Yeah, we just say freaks. That's okay.
Well, no, but I was gonna criticize Chris Rufo about, you know, that Twitter space. Like, he sort of misses the point in some regards.
My only gripe was his claim that America is a universalist project. Because
yeah, colorblind.
Never been the case.
Yeah, it's true.
That has never been the case.
Yeah. No, but even like, I hate to say it, but even like, speaking of Kashiwagi, he had this great observation about even us, like, tradcasts, you know, not us cradles, but like, and listen, I'm not criticizing people that honestly convert, right? I mean, Prude, you're a convert, you know.
Yeah.
But he's saying, like, what the problem with in America is that they basically have, like, the desired object of, like, WASP social stability, but they have to sort of like these weird, like, workarounds where they'll, like, there was a great thread about it, but the point being is that there's, like, a lot of political cargo culting to sort of deny the real problems of things. And I hate to say it, but a lot of people do use, like, trad religion worship. Like, you know, they do use it as a mask of saying that, well, actually, we can have this, like, coalition of disparate parts if we unite under this other banner. But it's sort of ignoring, like, the real it's like sort of like the Vermeulen level integralists, people like Sorba Mari, that want, like, Guadalupe integralism. It's masking the real problems with that. And I say this as a Catholic. I say this as, like, descendants of Ellis Islanders. That, you know, North America, either it's Anglophone Canada or it's, you know, Protestant America, right? There is a political order and a founding stock of people that are antithetical to that Guadalupe nationalism, whatever. You know, and it's just, you're going to have to deal with it. Now, I do think that, you know, in America, if a lot of these political problems were to be addressed, I do think that hopefully, you know, there's no getting around that, you know, Ellis Islanders and the WASP has to work together. I mean, that's a fact, right? Like, hopefully you agree, Prude. I mean, you're a descendant of WASPs. Do you want to kick us out? You want to kick me out, Prude?
No.
Oh, come on, bro.
There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that need to go, but Gio can stay as a treat. But, like,
no, but I mean, like, you know what I mean. The Ellis Islanders and the WASPs, they're gonna have to work together. I hate to say it. I mean, that's, you know, but the thing is, I don't deny the concept.
Whoever can overcome the ordeal of civility first would be the principal question.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the case here. And I don't even want to kick Gio out of Canada, but, like, if Gio ever does get kicked out of Canada, there's a spot in Texas for him.
Thank you, Prude. No, but I'm just trying to nuance this. I'm saying that, unlike a lot of other tradcasts, I recognize that America has a founding demographic and religion that I wouldn't want to disrupt.
I'm trying to avoid chimping out at this because I saw that 1492 project thing from the American Post-Liberal.
Oh God.
And it had my blood boiling. It's a momentary
man.
flash in the pan. Like, you've just been exposed to heat and you're like, oh, it's hot. Fuck.
No, but that's what I mean. As a med, I respect the Anglo, I respect the WASP, I respect the Germanic, I respect the Slav. Well, I especially respect the Slav, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that America was built upon, was a great civilization that was built upon the Anglo-Germanic. And I have a great reverence and respect for that. And I realize that being born in Canada, I am a product of Anglophone Canada, and I respect that. You know, my father's family's been here for almost 200, not 200, but almost, 100 years. And I think that this whole thing about, like, Catholics feel this intense, like, thing about, oh, we don't have a place in America. I mean, by virtue of the political climate, we do have a place in America, but I'm saying that you should still have a respect and a reverence for who founded a nation that you live in. That's all I'm saying. I'm trying to nuance it. Now, I do think that, the whole Ellis Islander thing is kind of, it does great with me, but I think that, yeah, you should have a respect for what has been built before you. Yeah, I have respect for I have immense respect for Anglophone and Francophone Canadians. I mean, some of the Francophone Canadians could be, they could be a bit much actually, but, yeah, that's all I'm saying here. I have very light skin for Asian. I have very light skin for an Italian. Yeah. Go ahead, Prue.
We've been on camera. Gio passes that test.
Yeah, man.
He would definitely face systemic racism in this country, in America. So he's that light skinned. Let's just not kid ourselves.
The more Gio says he respects the Anglo, the less I believe. No, I actually do. I have a great respect for the Anglos. Yes. They, there are certain elements.
Look, his best co-host is an Anglo. He better,
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot of Irish in you, don't you, Prude?
Well, more like Scots-Irish Presbyterians or Scots.
Oh God, that's total Anglo. That might as well be Anglo.
I fit well inside Benjamin Franklin's circle.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some Irish on my father's side. They came in the 1840s during the famine, but my mother's side, we can trace our lineage back to England.
Yeah.
Very easy. I mean, so my mother's side.
You have very Anglo features.
Yes, I've been told I look like someone that would lead people over the
hill in Verdun.
The trenches at the
trench
Somme.
in Verdun. Yeah, in the Somme.
So I'm okay with that look. That's perfectly fine with me. World War I aesthetics are pretty nice.
There you go. But yeah, that's my point. I think like people make too much about this Ellis Islander thing. Some of my best friends are Anglos. Gio Perfidious Albion must be abolished. Oh man. Well.
Oh God, we set the mutts off again. Oh, fuck off.
Oh no. No, but you know what I mean. I think like these issues, people quabble over this stuff too much. I mean,
like that's the thing. That's the thing that makes me laugh is that Europeans can mock it all they want, but Americans sure love the aspect of heritage and identity because there's a teleological understanding in every white European descendant American that there is an intrinsic greatness to the antiquity of their legacy. That's why heritage is one of the coolest things they love fucking talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean. I think the Ellis Islanders and us, and the WASP, I think the Heritage American, the Heritage Canadians, I think, we should come together in some ways. Not totally, but it's inevitable in America. I mean, look at like Italians and Irish people going together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Irish and Italians don't get along in New Jersey, like the last 4 or 5 congressional and gubernatorial races has been fights between Italians and Irishmen on Democratic and Republican lines.
Yeah.
New Jersey's just the microcosm of two different nominally Catholic ethnic groups going against one another, the Med and the Nord.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny though because but we have a love-hate relationship with each other, the Italians and Irish.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, sometimes more love, sometimes more hate. But anyways, let's not relitigate all of those mafia movies we saw. Oh boy, this is we're gonna have to do 2 stream. Maybe next week we're gonna have to pick it up. So the Rittenhouse thing was a sort of a huge litmus test that a lot of certain people failed. But anyways, this American empire sends brave warriors all around the world to bleed and die atop nameless dunes of sand. Well, maybe the steppes of Eastern Europe too. Hopefully not, but well, our nations prefer convenient pawns. When our warriors express discontent or develop ambitions, they're shunned aside. Real courage, real honor, real integrity leads to some uncomfortable questions. Elected politicians are symbolic performers who prop up a tattered, threadbare illusion, and the civic myth of this splendid republic is less pervasive than before. They want slaves sculpted into compliant, convenient simulations of masculinity. Let's move. Roasties versus romance. What a thing, eh? What a thing.
What a thing.
But yeah, the point of Billionaire Psycho is that you castigate someone like Kyle Rittenhouse, who's defending well, it wasn't his home, but he has a long record of his family being there and so forth. He has every right to be there, right? But yet we have this symbolic bromide about America. Like, it's really like gladio nationalism of like, well, America's good when it's fighting the enemies of the regime, but when Americans defend themselves on the homeland, well, that's bad.
Yeah, America's, it's the thing that Thomas 777 likes to say, like, the American government's really good at one thing, and that's fighting the Cold War. And if that means it has to wage a Cold War against its domestic enemies, it'll do it. And that's kind of what we've been witnessing for quite some time in the US.
Yeah, exactly. But do you want to read this section, Prude?
Yeah, sure. Like the Pygmalion. Right. Since Pygmalion had seen them leading their lives in wickedness, is offended by their countless vices, which nature gave to the minds of women, celibate he lived for many years without a partner of his bedchamber, and in the meantime he sculpted white ivory happily, with wondrous art and wondrous skill, and gave it form with which no woman is able to be born, and he fell in love with his own work. It is the image of a true maiden whom you may believe is living, and who, without modesty, in the way you may believe she wants to move. So much his art hides his own art. Metamorphosis, Book 10 by Ovid. According to the Greek legend, the king Pygmalion was a talented sculptor who observed the promiscuity of local prostitutes. Roasties. He witnessed how cheaply they sold their bodies. The intense disgust bloomed inside him. The ugly reality...
He was an incel too! He was an incel too. Yeah, go ahead.
Volcel, more likely.
Yeah.
The ugly reality, women fell short of his romantic ideas. Lonely and enraged, the king Pygmalion refused sex with women and instead focused on his artistic craft. Yep.
That's Matthew's digital painting, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, you don't like real...
Is the Fumo tweet? No, it's not. I want the Fumo doll tweet in here. I think it's in here somewhere.
Yeah, we have to skip a lot of this, so... But anyways,
but yeah, Pygmalion was a fairy tale incel who poured his sexual frustrations into marble and stone and was rewarded with a happily ever after, blessed by the sex goddess herself. The story of Pygmalion is so obscure compared to the more Hellenistic adventures, such as the Iliad, Odyssey, Prometheus, Pandora, Theseus, the Minotaur, Jason, the Argonauts, and the labors of Hercules, but this myth is impacted in a small handful of notable stories. Pinocchio riffs on the same premise. A childless woodcarver wishes for a son, and the magic of the blue fairy breathes life into his idealized wooden puppet. Pinocchio is rebellious, reckless, and a carefree child who stumbles and strays into a series of foolish adventures. Rather than sex, the Adventures of Pinocchio explores the relationship between parents and their children, illustrating the neurotic anxiety of parents as they watch their children learn, play, and suffer from their impulsive mistakes. We can keep going. Yeah, here we go. In 1871, the playwright W.S. Gilbert, part of the Gilbert and Sullivan duo, had a popular comedy, Pygmalion and Galata, the original mythological comedy. He presented a humorous love triangle in which a married Pygmalion is tempted by the innocent and beautiful sculpture fashioned in the image of his wife. The comedy was a huge success. Numerous imitators rushed to the stage. This is now known, of course, from the George Bernard Shaw play My Fair Lady. Features a romance between the clumsy, unpolished florist and the pompous phonetics professor who educates her. Eliza Doolittle achieves the hypergamous ascent in wealth and prestige, a social climber delighting in the Edwardian Britain. And the professor, Henry Higgins, enjoys a masculine fantasy, which is to take a gorgeous, if trusting, Enguan and shape her into the clay into his dream wife, passionate, sensual, sophisticated, charming, and properly submissive. My Fair Lady is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Together, they share their dreams in a blissful, prosperous future. The plot structure, of course, changes just in a few decades later,
this is a really good
into
point.
Pretty Woman. My favorite joke about Pretty Woman is women love the idea of being being hired to have the girlfriend experience with a rich guy, but your girlfriend really hates it if you bring a prostitute to your birthday party. It's probably one of my little gags there. But oh boy, yeah, the girlfriend experience subverts into female fantasy. Emotional breakup, Giga Chad billionaire hooks up with tacky, forgettable roasty, gravitates towards this diseased streetwalker, and hires him to give the girlfriend experience.
Now, it's been years and years and years since I watched this. How did they end up, like, did he just become obsessed with her to the point of I want you to be
in her in his life? I haven't seen the movie in a hot minute either.
Yeah. He made a hua into a housewife. Oh!
Yeah. You're not missing out. Like, it's a female fantasy of being the lowly thing, being lowly and taken up into the higher planes of social strata despite your background. In this instance, a literal prostitute.
But I think this is an older female fantasy. Like, I think the newer one, the millennial one, is like girl boss. Gets even more like stellar Giga Chad. Like, Pretty Woman's almost outdated and quaint compared to like what Hollywood pushes in terms of female fantasy nowadays in terms of Mary Sue fantasies. I feel like this is a antiquated one. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe women do project this fantasy nowadays, but I don't know. I'm a woman. We should interview. We should bring on. Should we bring on Alex Kashuter default?
Ask this question. Yes, we should.
Yeah.
She becomes his spiritual muse, his unkempt Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
It's funny. The other day I saw, I don't know if it was on Telegram or something else. It's literally Cinderella. Yeah, Cinderella, but instead of being like kept away and slaving away at the house, she's a prostitute. A little bit different than.
Well, they both come from impoverished circumstances, but it is quite different. Yeah.
Yeah. We've rebooted Cinderella. We've rebooted Cinderella, except Cinderella's a whore, and there is no glass slipper. It's just a billionaire's,
a billionaire's investment firm or something. What did he do? What did Richard Gere do?
In the movie, I don't recall.
Well, I think Billionaire Psycho. Yeah, real estate or something. Yeah, his inner animal, Jungian shadow. And energy. By the way, read my article about the Jungian shadow and Jordan Peterson in the Anons called "Anons at the Gate." Gio's Content Corner. If one of my fans could put the link in the chat, that would be great. And energizes the jaded, depressed billionaire so that now he can conquer the corporate world. He buys her clothes, spoils her with unfamiliar opulence, and teaches her how to disguise herself as an American aristocrat, a woman raised among elegance and refinement. Oh my God, this scene. Depressed Giga Chad billionaire has planned to retire and sell off his company, but now inspired by the clumsy prostitute, talented corporate raider asserts control over his expensive business empire, culminating in a scene where Giga Chad billionaire violently assaults, humiliates, and fires a subversive executive. This brief, violent shadow is
played by Jason Alexander, by the way.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and he was trying to get with the hua.
Oh my God. Is a lek mating ritual, a flamboyant, superficial demonstration of brutality, a dance ostentatious and inefficient. The excited prostitute watches the sadism, gasping and panting. Her hair is troused, disheveled. She is frightened and fiercely aroused, dripping wet. Afterwards, the sly Rusty rejects her dream man. The film ends with billionaire begging for her forgiveness. Oh my God! Oh, really? That's how it ends?
Yeah.
Wow. What mean? Oh, of course, does the BAP what mean? What is the purpose of the history lesson? Why bother to trace the origins, progression, and virtual mutation of these stories as they pass from myths to plays to pop culture? Here's a few takeaways. It's fascinating that a legend that began with a king disgusted by prostitutes, handed down generation after generation, can mutate into the feminized romance of modern kings, a corporate warlord who specializes in hostile takeovers, the financial conquest and plundering of Wall Street conglomerates, mesmerized by prostitutes. From Hellenism to Hollywood, traveling from mythology to movies, this moral parable was twisted into complete mockery of its original intent. The incremental subversion reveals on some level the adversarial motives which drive men and women, and how persistent these dueling ambitions remain, enduring after thousands of years. Men desire a beautiful, submissive woman with a low body count. Women desire an invincible warrior king willing to overlook her body count. The one thing isn't like the other, I guess, Prude.
I guess.
But the more illuminating epiphany is compared the singular figure of Pygmalion against the contemporary incel phenomenon, a decentralized generation of directionless young men who repeat the same embittered loneliness on a much larger scale. Today, prawn is confused with the anime waifu, but there are disparate phenomena despite frequent overlap. Prawn is sexual, physical. The anime waifu is emotional and idealistic. The spiritual hire of Pygmalion's ivory sculpture, Galatia. She represents an impossible dream, a platonic ideal of feminine perfection. She is creature of beauty, youth, and elegance. But most of all, she symbolizes innocence. Or, well, a lot of anime people take neoteny for innocence. But yeah, you get the point. An anime girl would have never thought of getting to... One of my favorite tweets comes from Starbard, where he said an anime girl would never get that certain medical procedure. That was pretty...
Oh, yeah. Yes, that she'd never terminate, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. I think that it's almost 3 hours, so should we go further a little bit than go to Super Chats? We could cover this next week, too. Let's move on. The Japanese cartoon waifu is always kind, always faithful, fundamentally loyal. She's never a thought. She will never disparage, be disrespectful, vulgar, or unappreciative. Well, I don't know. Some of them can be. I mean, Nagatolo, can be kind of like that. But the modern environmental stimulus of primordial disgust...
This is well beyond my ken. That's not a pun. I'm literally just riffing. I'm riffing off of Sound of Music.
Your
there.
ken
this
levels.
Is just not.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I'm not an anime guy, so yeah.
I'm trying to be,
but I see what. I see what's. I see what he's getting at. Like these idealized forms of romances are the statues, of the Pygmalion.
Yeah. So, like he says, the rage, loneliness, bitterness, and despair of Western incel trapped in the rusting industrial landscape is a spiritual descendant of Pygmalion, like Adam and Tarzan, Frankenstein's monster, men who expressed a keen, melancholy hunger to be loved, admired, and adored. Hunger for a better partner. Their spiritual loneliness yearns for a companion. What's disturbing is how widespread such sadness has become. The rare, isolated unhappiness of a heroic king from ancient Greece is growing to become the standard default of industrial civilization's sensitive young men. Blatant promiscuity celebrated on Tinder, Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans is fueling widespread even Twitter, fueling widespread discontent. This discontentment feeds itself, intensifying into a hideous feedback loop. You can lend a hua towards honor, but you can't make her think. 50 years of feminism is the only way that women can move out and have a home as a young age, as if she's an online prosty. Yeah, I remember that tweet. Oh God, the gym discourse. Kessler, literally every single thing in a man's heart is designed to make him love women. And the fact that modern females so routinely screw this up is the point of revulsion, is evidence of how bad things have gotten. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, this is a good response by Evil Political Science. Women prove that it's natural words, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I hate to live in a system that exploits it while denying it and make everyone worse off in the process. Once you've burned out with the body count question, consider the student debt one. What's the average student debt most guys in the future will have to consider if they want a 120 IQ plus and otherwise desirable wife in the future? Oh, man. Prawn and anime waifu inevitably converge because men project their accursed fantasies onto the dream woman. Their singular woman eventually personifies all women. She will be simultaneously idealized and sexualized, both Madonna and Hua. praises as a partner and a paramour. Duality undercuts with ebbs and flows. Contracting the polarity of physical lust layered upon a more abstract intellectual hunger is disappointing. The authorities of Western civilization don't understand this widespread festering sexual dysfunction. And as regrettable, our supposed leaders are unprepared to implement any sort of time solution. Destroys male-female dynamics and never be the same again. Unfortunately, since churches are run by boomers now, absolutely none of them realize what has happened, and they are failing teens and young single Christian men.
Yeah.
Christians
well, not just inside the church, but also like outside.
Yeah.
I had a conversation. I will. The person will remain nameless, but she is a friend of a friend. She's much older. She's Gen X. She's my parents' age, and she is a mother. A big churchgoer, very successful in her family life and her husband. And she's just like, there are women out there. There are these things that are there for you and for people to engage and to do it. And I said, outside of these pre-existing bubbles, which are already really antagonistic towards outsiders, the game is so fundamentally changed. And it's so different. Like the COVID, after COVID especially. But and to her, this was all like really troubling black pilling news. And it was just very accurate. And I was just telling her how it is. And it was like you just told her that 9/11 happened like right now as you're speaking. And you're just like, oh yeah, all these thousands of people have died. Yeah. And I mean, like, and the only people that are really giving it attention are like really large sort of mainstream Christian personalities. Like Father Josiah Trenum talks about it, Paul Vanderklay talks about it, and a few others do. But outside of like guys that are already well acquainted with the online ecosystem and are dealing with young men and women, nope, no one else is talking about it in that regard. And that's just the case. And they don't see it as an issue because the people that are already there have already somehow managed to get that last chopper out of Vietnam. And so for the rest of them, these people come in looking for salvation and community, and they're here with all these dilemmas that compound.
Yeah. No, but I think like in the one sense, you have to harden your heart to a lot of things. But in another sense, there's always a balance in all things, that eventually you do want to find love and contentment in life. But at the same time, you have to realize like the realities we're living in. I mean, unfortunately, even the Catholic Church is like this. I mean, especially in North America. I mean, in a lot of ways, a lot of Catholic churches are really a problem. I mean, look at the immigration thing, right? I think a lot of Christian leadership, I mean, nowadays, especially like a lot of the leadership of these churches, they're like boomers and they're out of touch and they don't know what's really going on. But they're working on a much older assumption of the beginning of the sexual revolution, where for a little time, like Gen X men in particular had like the cream of the crop in terms of like screwing around and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't realize that like we're dealing with a different age. It's sort of like what Dave said, Distributist, about like the movie God's Not Dead, how it like presupposes this like very safe and comfortable like Christian evangelical environment. And it sort of like ignores like the real problems of like the fact that these churches are losing relevancy over the social discourse and over like public policy and everything. It's the same reason. It's like sort of like this little containment bubble of not realizing what really the problem is. And we spoke about the new atheist, right?
Yeah.
The church really failed during that time because they thought that like, oh, we're just going to debate them or whatever. It's a big game. But when you don't have when you don't have a meaningful set of solutions for the reason why young people in particular are going through immense like disenchantment and secularization, then I'm sorry, like you don't have to focus on polemics and debates and apologetics. It's like that's irrelevant to the fact that your churches are dying, that civilization is dying with it. Like, that's why during those 2000s era, like, yeah, we could say that they want to get, the new atheists are gone or whatever, or like the dying remnants are like still around. But really, I mean, it was a crisis point. Like, you know, like then the 2010s happened and it was all over. Like, I hate to say it. Like, this is a huge problem. The institutions that should be leading the way have fumbled the bag and shit the bed so severely that I don't know, like really it is quite something. I don't know what to say. I think like the average priest in the average parish, they don't really know what's going on with young men. So
no, they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're young priests, and like there is a trend where more conservative youth do tend to find themselves in seminary, and like thank God for that. But I mean, you know, like I had done like a cocked eyebrow, like turn my head around like in a 180 degree fashion. When one time I heard my priest say, just because it's a monarchy doesn't mean it's based. And I was like, okay, this guy knows the language of the young men he's talking to. But outside of that, right, like you're not going to find it. And so like a lot of the churches in this issue also, it's like the movie Blast from the Past, you know, where he emerges out of the nuclear bunker and he realizes that the world didn't end. And that's a comedy movie for us, right? It's a funny little comedy. But in the real world, you come out of a bunker after 30 years of not being exposed to the social discourse in the world. You're not only going to be ridiculed, you're going to be mocked, you're going to be sent away, you're probably going to be imprisoned because you said the wrong words. Like, we laugh about the 4chan green text about, like, imagine a 1990s bully coming into high school in 2023. And it was that more or less the issue was, like, you know, oh, they'd be, like, thrown in prison. Like or they'd be like expelled instantly. And that was the case. No, Vingul, it was about the idea of people that like simp after monarchy without considering the consequences about it. Like that's the issue, really, is that people have been out of a bubble. Like, what is God's Not Dead other than like, well, in our cutesy little worldview, this is how we would respond to new atheists. And it's just like, yeah, nope, that's how this works. It's very frustrating.
No, but a lot of them don't even know the real tactics of the political left either.
No,
like they don't realize what they're up against. They don't realize like it's like I even said today, like he's like, you know, James Lindsay, even like, well, I'm using like, you know, fedoras, but like you know, people that talk about relativism, either in the church or like these people like James Lindsay, like it's not relativism. They're just selectively employing principles against the enemy over others. You know, they don't realize that. They don't realize that there's ways that they've delegitimized the authority of the church through the culture for decades now. And so what's the response? Like the response is like cornball debate tactic things like God's Not Dead. I hate to say it. Like they don't realize like what it really takes to fight any culture war. It's, you know, they and I think like it's a big problem. I think that church leadership, they need to be educated on these things. But anyways, maybe is this a good point to end? Or
yeah, I think so. We can get to the super chats.
Yeah, because we have a lot of them. So
yeah, shaming works. Bully your pay piggies.
So maybe we could pick up next week.
So while we were doing this, I texted TR Hudson and asked if he wanted to come on and review the movies because he's watching all three.
All right.
And then we can continue.
So a week after we could do it.
Week after, yeah.
All right, good. All right, so let's get to. Sorry, it's just that my mind is swimming right now. So
no worries. But yeah,
that's
next week
3 hours.
Yeah, we're almost at 3 hours. We'll probably be at 3 hours when we get through the super chats.
Yeah. Oh boy, so next week we're gonna have the 3 movie special. Hopefully, I have time to watch it, but we'll see what happens. Oh boy. All right. So, number 1 for 2. Let's see if I. By the way, you can donate to my PayPal.
It's time for the appropriate PFP.
The shilling one. Oh wait, let me stop sharing.
There we go.
There you go. And by the way, like I said, next week I might not have a content minded out, but I would definitely have. I'm trying to organize a Twitter space with Meta Prime about my recent article. But next week, you have stuff coming up. You know, tonight you have stuff coming up, Prude. So maybe you could do.
Yeah. So as soon as we're done with this video or this stream, I'm going to be editing the video for it. I already got the audio edited. It took way longer than I thought. So I'm gonna have a video out later this evening, and then I will be on Charlemagne's channel later this evening, and then on Saturday evening I'm going to be on with Semiagog, and then on Monday I'll be on with Oren. I have a new Substack out taking a look at Kierkegaard, leftism, the leveling, and our current social political zeitgeist, and then I might have some movie reviews out this weekend as well.
Nice. Amazing.
Yeah, fun times. It's been a very busy week.
Yeah, same. So yeah, like I said, my article came out, the Spurgler Acolyte content-minded episode, really great. The full thing is 3 hours long. So go to my Patreon, go to Substack. You can find the full version, both, they both start at $5 a month. But if you're so generous for the $20 or $50, you'll get things like artwork and other perks. So thank you all. So first one, Fishy Frenzy for $2. Mr. Grove was so right about True Detective Season 2. Was he right?
I don't remember his take.
Fishy Frenzy, if you could enlighten us about the take. I think it's the best one. I like Season 2 the best.
I've seen all 3 of them. I like number 2. I think that it gets that he was right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his take was, but I think that the second one gets a lot more shit than it deserves, because everyone tries to compare it to the first. The weakest of them is the third one, but yeah, Season 2 of True Detective is fantastic.
So for 50 MX Mexican pesos, which is about wait, let me do the conversion here in Canadian. Oh, $3.89 Canadian. By Hugo Glibs 56 for $3.99. I can't display it because it's got the meme number. I'm kind of worried about that. The 14, you know what? The Scythian Ken is 14, fill in the blank. Allah and War Chariot are sold separately. That's a good one.
Soon.
So thank you, Hugo Glass 56, GLZ. I thought he pronounced it Glass. And from Joseph Coney himself for $2. Gio, please defend Kowloon Walled City. Kowloon Walled City is it's way more aesthetic than any bug soy, any bug hive that the Chinese government wants to force its citizens into. It's not the pod. It was a true megastructure created by the people for the people. It was a haven of illicitness and degeneracy, but at the same time, it had a sort of aesthetic valiance. I could do the whole lefty millennial video essay defending Kowloon Walled City. I'm truly sad that it's gone. It will be missed. And yeah. I mean,
you should do it, but you should do it in the style of a lefty video essayist.
If I had the editing skills, maybe I would. But you know what? I probably could do a podcast in Kowloon. You know what? Next, I touched a bit upon it in, I believe, Solo Variety Mega Show episode 3. It wasn't episode 3, but it was Solo Variety Mega Show 3 in Content Minded. I believe I did talk about Kowloon Walled City. But the next Solo Variety Mega Show, I will talk about Kowloon Walled City. I'll just have to make a note. So thank you, Coney. And for $10, by New Gloff, our good friend, our good patron, Proper Stream Mates. Cheers. Thank you, Gloff. Thank you so much for the $10. And from Melon for $2. Shekel. Thank you, Melon. And oh my God, another $10 from Sam153. Great episode of DA. Gang. Oh, no. Not doing that. No.
The pay piggies have gone insane.
The pay pigs have gone insane. I guess we have to do it now, Prude. We're that shameless. Gang. Yes. You got to do it, Prude.
No, I'm not doing it.
You're doing it.
No.
I'm going to kick you.
That's fine. You can kick me. I'm not being an NPC.
I'm
a real human being. I'm a real human being.
Oh. Just say gang once.
Gang. There you go.
Okay, there you go. $10 well spent. Thank you. And And for $2 by our good friend Eric. It's not much, but thanks for some Kino content. You know what? I'm going to kick you, Eric. Screw you. I'm going full TJ Kirk. You know what's funny is that people, before Stefan Molyneux did it, TJ Kirk did that.
I just like the bird.
Yeah.
It's a good
It's
bird.
a great bird. The best.
It's a great bird. She's a great bird.
No, but I'm serious. Thank you. I'm joking. Thank you, Eric, for the $2. Thank you, my friend. And for $5, super chats needed. 07, Son of Haster. Thank you very much, Son of Haster.
Great guy. Met him IRL at the event.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And for $4.99 by Subject to Change, our good friend Sneed. And for $5 by E. Essington. I hope people appreciate when I blow my lungs out with $5. Tip shaming works. It certainly does. And oh my God, for $10 by Timothus 89. I pray God will give both of you families. May God bless all you friends. Thank you, Timothus. Thank you, Timothus. That's how I pronounce it. Timothus. Thank you very much, my friend.
I appreciate that.
Oh God, I'm losing my voice. For $5 by I might as well, by Fishy Frenzy once again, I might as well formalize this weekly film recommendation / discussion point. Have you seen the film Southland Tales? I believe I have. I may have seen it, actually.
I know it's a Dwayne Johnson film with Michelle What's-Her-Name, but no, I haven't seen it.
I think I have seen it. I think it was all right. It was one of the better The Rock films. I call him The Rock, not Dwayne. I hate Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He will always still be The Rock in my heart. More relevant today than ever. Isn't The Rock sort of like a lib, though? Isn't Dwayne Johnson sort of kind of like a lib?
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be.
But of the can we just all get along category.
Yeah, he's not that bad then. He might run for president one day as a Democrat, but, Wrestling with Wormwood, our good friend, for $1.99. The time has gone. This has gone towards the. Well, I mean, maybe one day when Twitter Spaces can accept donations, you can donate to Night Owls.
See, when future Adolvin Citizen sets up his subscriptions on Twitter.com, then you too can subscribe to his Twitter account and really go towards the Red Scare Zionism Fund.
Yeah, Red Scare Zionism.
Don't be afraid of that word on YouTube. I just had like a 2-hour-long lecture on the history of the Middle East last week. That word got dropped a lot. Yeah, I got monetized.
Nice. So for $1.99 by MG, our good friend MG, have you all heard of Dungeon Synth? It's based. What is Dungeon Synth?
Are we talking about like a music genre?
I think so.
Then I haven't.
Oh my God, I'm gonna kill you guys for this. Oh my God.
Dungeon Synth, yeah, electronic genre. Well, sounds interesting. I'll probably listen to some.
No, I'll listen to some Dungeon. No, but I mean the one coming up here, the super chat.
I can view these super chats. I don't know why I'm like sitting here like concerned. Oh, no.
For $2 by JS.
You stop this nonsense now. If we're going to have this, like,
go back to FMK.
No. I would no. I'm not no to either, but like no to this especially. That this is staying on here.
I hope this trend dies really quickly.
I really hope it won't, because apparently one of the women that does it is some like
33-year-old.
Well, no, it's something that just like she's just a total prosty in this respect. But like,
no, I think she has an OnlyFans or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it the black one?
Yeah. Don't encourage this like digital prostitution.
But I gotta say, they gave me $2.
Are we getting to the point where you're like, yo, buddy, £2 is £2?
It's £2 sterling.
Get this man out of Canada.
Yes, nom nom nom, sushi yum, kitty pot. No, I can't even say it. No, I'm not gonna say it. Kitty paws nom nom. Okay, there, I said it. Okay, thank you, JS. But not really. That was terrible. For $2 Canadian by For Posterity, perpetuity of ethnicity is imperative for all. Yes.
Yeah, posterity is good. Preserve it and maintain it.
I noticed that the debate came up because some Catholic account Nah, never mind. Yeah. For $4.99 by Zong Wai, our good friend Zong Wai. Cashier sees crest on my tie and asks whether I'm Knights of Columbus. Me, no, I'm Protestant. Her, that's okay. I'm not practicing either. You slap. That's funny. That's actually funny. I like that.
That's pretty good. All right, back to the Wojak.
Maybe you can convert her through your sexual prowess. But anyways, and of course, Z's Hunter for $5 off topic. But have either of you read Watchmen, the comic? I think it's still very insightful despite Moore being a commie. And yeah, I believe Trump also broke Moore's brain. So
yeah, Trump finalized breaking Moore's brain. But yeah, no, I've read it. I think it holds up.
I like the character of Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan it's all worth your time. I think it was good. I liked it. The movie did a terrible job at translating it, but I don't know how the hell you translate middle-aged superheroes having sexual dysfunction because they're not being superheroes anymore.
Yeah.
But like they'll never make like what's terrifying is that I wish people would read the comic because if people who want it rebooted or people that don't want Zack Snyder's version, like your idea of a dark, realistic superhero movie or gritty take on the genre, all that it's going to be is more of the boys bullshit. Like,
yeah,
you're not getting anything good.
They're gonna make it I was gonna say they're gonna make a Barbie too, but Zendaya is gonna be Barbie. How do you feel? What make you feel?
Look, there's already a tranny in this Barbie movie. Let's not kid ourselves.
There is?
Yes.
Oh, is it that alien-looking Hollywood actor, whatever? Actress?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But like they have an actual trans person in the film.
Of course they do. That's the concession for having like a predominantly white Nordic-looking cast. That's what they have to do. Anyways, for $10, oh my god, $10 by Post Nut Clarity. Just during the stream, I feel that it will be a great one. Have a great weekend, gentlemen. Thank you. It was a great one. And our good friend from Lou Templar for $5. Cringe. Well, Lou Templar. The fact things haven't collapsed yet is a testimony to what our fathers built. Yes, exactly. I believe Billionaire Psycho also said something similar, which we'll get to a few weeks from now. So thank you, Lou Templar, a good friend. For $4.99 by Cody Browning, another good friend of ours. Jerry Maguire primed us for seeking single mother roasties. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, she was a single mother, but the kid was
remember, kids, these movies want you to think that it's good to be the man who stepped up.
The kid was kind of cute, though. Like he was,
but it's not his.
I know. But anyways, let's move on from this topic. $1.99. Can't spare much money without answers to FMKs. Aw, come on. Listen, John Carter was the best FMK super chatter that you all should aspire to FMK post like him. Because John Carter, he set up impossible scenarios for me and Prude. So, if anyone you want to FMK, if it's not, please be patient. My cock's long for $9.99, almost $10. My cock's long reaction role model discourse. Our frame here is social media, which is marketed in mind control technology. Hence, I wouldn't call it that. But there's definitely a lot of three-letter agencies that were instrumental in the formation and the dissemination of, I believe Schwab has a lot of research into this. Mind control technology, hence even the most sincere actors you find here have elements of grift. Yeah, even me and you, Prude, we can't escape it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you think? There's certainly a lot of glowing activity that happens in
well, I just think that social media does encourage, and it goes back to the Humdog essay, right? Like, it encourages you to become a self-commodifying actor in order to get the gratification of attention still being focused on you.
Even if it's just a click economy.
Yeah, which sucks.
Well, that's what Byung-Chul Han talks about in Into the Swarm, about how the like is like the symbol of affirmation that you have to engagement farm to like. And when you like everything, like that's, it becomes meaningless after a while. It just becomes, I mean, he has a more sophisticated take on it, but anyways, Black Anise. I thought it's Black Anise for $2. Thank you, my friend HV. Have you seen With Nail and One Kino comedy about decline? Oh, we have to see that. That looks interesting.
I have not seen it. No,
I have not seen it. With Nail and One. But thank you. That's a good. Maybe I could look it up.
With
and
Nail
another
and I, 1987 dark comedy.
Oh, one. It says I. Sorry, I thought it said
Richard Grant, Paul McGann. Okay.
Oh, looks interesting.
Loosely. Okay, cool. Sounds good. I will add that to my list. White With Nail and I. Yeah.
And another $9.99 by Mike Oxlong for $9.99. 2 of 2. Need to rerun Touch Grass, but I think that's the reason this discussion almost always becomes circular. People need to take this attitude into their lives without needing to broadcast. Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. I 100% endorse and agree with this take. It's very true. That people that tell you to touch grass, they're probably not touching grass themselves.
Every sort of irony leftoid account telling you to log off and touch grass is just telling you to like shut up for putting a spear into the side of my clearly manufactured consumer identity lifestyle that could not stand the basis of having a real world social life. And that's why they like just seethe as you expose sunlight in their rooms of just seeing how ugly their little existence is.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful. If you see what the average irony leftist looks like, I mean, these are the people that were dunking on my appearance from that photo from 2014, right? So,
yeah.
Like Garbage Ape. Oh, sorry, Judge Holden. Spasticus Autisticus, our good friend, for $2. Thank you for the sticker. Or no, he just sends $2. And finally, unless people want to, I have PayPal notifications. So if you want to give through PayPal, I won't use your real name, of course. But finally, for $5 from Dugan Ashley, what would your GF say if she saw you making baby noises for money online? Well, I'm going to find out soon. She's probably going to listen.
I'm sure you'll get a text message pretty soon being like, Gio, what the hell was that? Lord have mercy.
My GF's actually going to see Up and Barbie right now, so she's like gritting her friend took her. She's like gritting her teeth.
I've got 2 cam rips of the film downloaded, and I've got the Venture Brothers movie ready to go. I'm here for Kino. Yeah, prudes in silence. Yeah, most of the time there's these bits on the show where it's a delightful little bit of a humiliation ritual. It is my spiritual taxation.
I don't mean it though.
Oh, we know it's part of. It's just a natural. It's a feature, not a bug.
No, but you got to find something to get me back with.
That is true. I guess, but
there's got to be something that makes me uncomfortable.
John Carter is here with an FMK.
Oh my God! Finally, for $4.99, gentlemen, FMK, Little Apostate, Michaela Peterson, Lauren Southern. Who is Little Apostate?
I don't know, but I guess that one's going on the kill list.
Little Apostate is some kind of YouTuber. Who is Little Apostate? She was with Benjamin Boyce. Is that Benjamin Boyce?
From a couple of years ago, yeah.
She looks all right. Is she crazy though?
I'm terrified. Is this like a discussion on?
She looks pretty good. Let's see.
They all have like this similar face.
Yeah, they do. That's why fishing. That's why you chose it.
Lots of triple Ks. Yeah, I don't. Gio already shopping for a new GF. It's
no,
you funny.
Are you kidding me? I wouldn't give up my current GF for the world. I'm telling you guys. I mean, it's, compared to the lunatics out there, especially in influencer world, it's exactly.
The chat has gone insane. Morgoth shouted her out.
She's great, but she's slightly in our sphere, so probably crazy. Open Spurg, if I recall. According to Eric.
If that's the case, then
okay, marry her.
Marry her. Screw Michaela Peterson. Kill the Fed. Simple as. Like, you guys just made this really easy.
No, wait, no. Okay, I'm cross because I'm doing like the Norm Macdonald. Like, I regret to inform you, but everyone in this thing should, Now,
this story may come as a shock to some of our listeners, but I think everyone in this story should be dead. Or so the Germans would have us believe.
No, I think Merry Little Apostate. Who would be more spiritually damaging, to do Lauren Southern or Michaela? Like, who would grip your soul worse, Michaela Peterson or?
See,
Lauren
here's the
Southern.
worst part. One of them has had Andrew Tate inside of them, and then one of them has decided to get alpha widowed by a Fed. With
so it's sort of
child.
It's very hard.
Your pick.
Okay, so I guess I would just pick yours then, because like a Fed is a Fed. So, not calling Lauren Southern a Fed. Allegedly, we're not. Listen, again, to not cop a legal case, we're not calling Lauren Southern a Fed. Just to be clear, but I think we're agreed on the Merry Little Apostate thing, unless she's secretly crazy, for which I don't know about. But I mean,
Eric goes, the bird knows marriage material.
Like, the reason I wouldn't want to marry Michaela Peterson is there's a little thing known as a Wendigo psychosis here in Canada. So don't research though. Yeah, see, exactly, Dimes.
Dimes
I
is
don't
having
call
too much fun.
I call Lauren Southern a Fed a load of baloney. That's pretty. I never thought Lauren Southern was that attractive, though. That's the thing. Like, I never like oogled and ogled over her. Like,
congratulations, Lauren Southern. You've made rewatching Murdoch awkward.
Oh my god.
Wheat fields. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's. Let's not speak of those days of the Tantra streams, but reverse Kundalini. Postate got doxxed.
Oh
man.
Oh,
but no, I think between Michaela Peterson and Lauren Southern, I mean, I don't know. I think like I'm okay. I may want to do Lauren Southern and redact Michaela Peterson, because I think like Michaela Peterson, there's some weird spiritual mojo going on there that you don't want to get involved with. So I don't know. I'd probably pick that then. Does anyone have another FMK before we go?
You're awful.
Come on, John Carter. You probably got another $5 there. Or $2 or whatever. Send like 99 cents just to piss me off. Like, remember
that? Well, it's been fun, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We had a good stream, though, Prude. I didn't torture you that much.
No, I honestly wasn't. I don't know how this one was gonna go, but yeah, gonna need a content minded on Wendigo psychosis. Yeah, you're gonna have to break the info hazard out.
It would take a lot.
Containment breach.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be ideal, but I mean,
well, we won't end the stream with that. We will go back to the nice frog.
All right, let's end the stream. So yeah, Prude, you got a lot of special content Operation Week going, and
I'll have a video out in a couple of hours, and then I'm saving the nasty FM. God, John Carter, why? But yeah, no, I have a video coming out later this evening. I'll be on Charlemagne's channel at 8 o'clock Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and then I'll be on Semiagog's channel tomorrow evening, and then Oren's channel tomorrow or on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, very busy.
Charlemagne still streams?
He's only begun to stream. So he's only recently started streaming stuff. But yeah, a lot of lot of fun coming down the works. So stay tuned for a new video on my channel. Be sure to hop on over there. There's a new Substack. Having a lot of fun with editing some stuff for memes on Twitter. And then I'll see you guys more or less like back to back these coming weekends and on Monday. So yeah, you guys are great with your ongoing support. Very thankful for it.
Yeah, and please subscribe to my my Substack, Gio's Content Corner. You can also pay for all the episodes of Content Minded and Giant Reviews, which I have to get back at, or Patreon. And, of course, go and listen to the Spurgler Acolyte episode of Content Minded. Next week, I will try to put out something again, but I have to go back to writing my book, and it's been a lot of things to juggle. So I might come out with another episode of Content Minded next week, maybe the GSP episode from War Report. So we'll see if I have time to edit, because now apparently I have to watch 3 films. So we'll see what happens. Thank you all. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet. As always, gents.
See you guys.